This story begins with a frightened woman asking a police officer to see what is going on in an alley. She thought there were some guys harassing a girl. The police officer thanked the girl for this information and said they would check out what was going on there right away. But as it turns out, these people who call themselves defenders are long-standing rotten critters feeding at the expense of the citizens. The soulless patrol chief said that the rounds were over for the day, it was time for them to rest. My partner looked out the window and asked, "Is this by any chance the girl that woman was talking about? Maybe she needs help?" The man replied that there was no way they could help her. "Doesn't she see, there are many more of them? The two of them together can't do anything to them." The girl then offered to call for backup. The officer said that they would probably let her go after they had a good time. It's not the first time they've seen something like this. The patrol chief told her to relax, she'll be fine. Suddenly a guy in a police uniform appeared in front of the bandits and told them to let the girl go immediately. The most brazen of the thugs decided to ask the guy what would happen if they didn't let her go. The police officer didn't think long enough to set the man's jaw a little for asking such dumb questions. The guy warned that if they didn't want to let her go, he'd have to ruin their health. An angry mob of thugs rushed to punish the upstart, but they were unsuccessful. It took the officer a few seconds to calm them down. The man did not lose hope and pulled out a knife. Seeing this, the young officer asked if he had ever killed anyone. The man replied that of course he had. The officer catches his hands and says it's a lie. His eyes give everything away and his hands aren't stained with blood. The bandit gritted his teeth and asked the guy if he thought he couldn't finish him off. He replied that he could try. Looking him in the eye with his fearsome gaze, he showed the man where to strike. But if he couldn't kill him, then he'll have to kill him. And he'd better make his choice soon if he wants to live. The man who was scared to death didn't realize what was happening, dropped the knife and asked who he even was. The guy replied that he was a simple man who would send him to jail. He's a police officer. A week ago, in the seaport of Incheon, our protagonist needed to fulfill his last mission. He was a hit man with the call sign Big One. There was no one better than him, but at that moment, everyone was waiting for him. The killer with the call sign Maple Leaf asked the guy what was taking him so long. Wasn't he too relaxed, because this was his last mission? Baiguan replied that he wasn't that much late, and said to get to the point faster. What kind of mission is this? Suddenly a man with a chain appeared behind the boy. He shouted that Buddha had asked him to work with him. He clearly had the urge to strangle the guy. However, it all ended with Baiguan knocking him out, and the man simply wiped the floor with his body. Holding the chain tightly in his hand, the guy turned around and asked what were they doing? Or did someone decide to play a prank? Maple Leaf replied that he should understand everything. They are only doing their job. It's time to escort the most legendary assassin, Baiguan, to his final resting place. After saying that, the crowd of assassins rushed into battle, but no matter how hard they tried, they failed. The experienced killer Baiguan scattered the bodies in the corners of the container, and at the end, only Maple Leaf was left. Baiguan asked him, did they really think that would be enough to stop him? He replied that he didn't want to resort to that and drew his gun. He must fulfill the Buddha's order in any case, and maybe he'll make it easy on him and just die peacefully? I mean, he knows how hard it is to clean up after using a firearm. Baiguan told him to go far away with his last mission. Buddha said he would be free after he completed this mission. Why did that thing do that? Maple Leaf thinks he'll still have a chance to ask him about it, but only on the other side of the world. Meanwhile, Buddha recruits a mercenary to ask if he has done his job. He is told that the mission has been accomplished. The man realized that it wasn't Maple Leaf, but Baiguan. He said he had just finished the funeral ceremony. But how did the guy know he was going to be attacked? Baiguan asked if he was in the temple now. He replied that of course he was, because he was a monk and he was supposed to be in the temple, and he doesn't think the guy can get to him. The temple's full of killers, he doesn't stand a chance. A confident Baiguan told himself not to lock the temple doors, for he was already here. He's going to get him, no matter what. And he'll destroy anyone who dares to stand in his way. The guard told him that there was no further passage. Buddha was preparing for the funeral. The guy said he didn't care. Would a real Buddha kidnap children and turn them into killers? And then make a big fortune off of it? The man took out an axe and started attacking Baiguan. However, the guy wouldn't stop until he reached his goal. He shouted to stay out of his way. Bai Guan had already lost everything working as a killer. His health, his childhood and his family, they came for the only thing he had left. His life. He destroyed everyone but him. The bleeding Bai Guan said that he promised him that he would let him live a normal life. Whatever he wanted after his last mission, the monk told the boy that he was. And now he was giving him the opportunity. Just like he wanted, that's what an ordinary life is. And now let dear Bai Guan rest in peace. After saying that, the monk pulled the trigger of the gun. However, the last thing Bai Guan had time to think was that he would take revenge on him. Even if he had to turn that world upside down, he would come after him. Suddenly, someone shouted at him to wake up. As if everything before had been a dream. What happened to him? When he opened his eyes, our protagonist saw 3 policemen in front of him. The first thing he said was the word cops. The guys really wondered why he put it that way. What kind of cops? The doctor had already told them that he might be inadequate. The girl is shocked by what's happening. She says his name is Kim Kyung-soo. Let him not pretend and come to his senses. But the guy doesn't know who he is. The guy showed him his ID and told him to look in the mirror. He must have lost his memory, they thought. Ulsan Police Station. Our protagonist is reborn in the body of a police officer, Kim Kyung-soo, legendary hitman Bai Guan, now a cop? What the hell? He couldn't believe it. How could this even be? The best hitman in the world, Bai Guan is reborn as a police officer after being betrayed by his own organization. You probably think he's plotting revenge. Instead, however, he gets punched in the face by his superior officer. What happened to this body before Bai Guan came? And how did the guy end up in this situation? This asshole tried to kill himself. The guy said he was out for a week. His lucky the rope broke. The girl couldn't understand. Did he really think that mentioning the names of these freaks in a suicide note would solve the problem? The guy sat in a stupor, not understanding what she was talking about. The girl explained that he had written down the names of his superiors, who were always pestering them. It was Senior Police Officer Hwang Chul-minute and Senior Police Officer Hwang Young-chan. And they don't understand why this year's rookies are such morons? Hwang Chul asked Kim Kyung-soo that his parents went to the other world together. After committing a crime, didn't they? Hwang Yun assumed that he had also decided to follow in their footsteps. How could the son of criminals decide to become a police officer? If he decides to leave, let him do it without anyone noticing. Why the hell did he decide to mention their names in his suicide note? Our hero decided he'd had enough of such tantrums and caught his arm. Hwang Chul asked, had he lost his mind? How dare he stop his punch? He shouted to Jo Kyung-hee's girlfriend to confirm that this could be considered as an act of defiance, right? The girl replied that she couldn't see from there. After all, she is kissing the floor with her face, doing their bidding. Hwan Young came over to her and said he would help her see what was going on. She was so sick of being bullied. Bai Guan looked at that and said that it was really arbitrary. Hwang Chul asked, what did he just yell? The guy squeezed his hand so hard that he started begging for mercy. There was no leaving him now. He had to punish those assholes. He hit him with 2 fingers that he fell like jelly in front of everyone's eyes. How is that possible? Next, Bai Guan walked up to Hwang Yun and stepped on his nuts. I don't envy him. Jo Kyung-hee said he attacked a superior officer. And now he'll have to answer for it. The head of the police station, Choi Jin-ha, said he could forget his way here. Did you think police officers don't get fired for nothing? How can you attack a superior officer? He will personally see to it that he never wears that uniform again. Sitting on the bench, Bai Guan thought a lot and wondered why cops always have it bad. Before leaving, the guys decided to give the guy a little reprimand, too. But he denied it and said it was self-defense. How could it ever be forgotten? The man said. The senior officer's father is a deputy assistant commissioner, he said. And he has a badge, it's a Mugunia flower. The boys said goodbye and said they would miss him very much, and may he be lucky in life. Bai Guan realized that their system was decaying from within. That's why they can't catch people like him. His father has a Mugunia flower. It's the equivalent of an army insignia star. He's sad he wasn't reborn as a higher-ranking cop. It's also sad that he's an outsider, but abandoned by his own parents and left to fend for himself by his own organization. In some ways, they're like him, but should he go there now? Gyeonggi-do West Police Station. This is Major General Hong Jun. He was sitting quietly at work, going through the documents on eliminating killers. Suddenly someone ruined his silence. The hooded man told him that it had been a long time since they had seen each other. He put a pen to his neck and said he really needed to talk to him. The Major General asked who he was. He replied that his name was Bai Guan. The conversation began to move to another stage. The general asked if he was Bai Guan, how could he explain the fact that he died and woke up in the body of a police officer? If it were him, would he believe him? The guy's not asking you to believe him. But he wants to help take out Hwaguksa's hit men. The Major General decided to turn on his radio so that backup could come. He said that this was not the best place to discuss Hwaguksa. Suddenly, the walkie-talkie lit up on his hand. Bai Guan threatened that he wasn't asking him for a favor. He commands him. He has no choice. No one can help. Everyone is already fast asleep. The general still kept saying that he didn't believe him. Then Bai Guan reminded him of the promise they had made to each other 3 years ago. When he was a senior lieutenant, that's when they met. It was raining like a bucket that day. Then the general hunted the Buddha and pestered him in every possible way. He is the first person to get so close to him. And Bai Guan found him to deliver a message from the Buddha. He pulled out his secret weapon and was supposed to complete his mission. However, something went wrong. The man begged for mercy and said that this old man was of no interest to him. He cared a lot about his life. Bai Guan took off his mask and said that in that case, he had an offer for him. He'll let him live, but in return let him promise him he'll put the bastard away within 3 years. Mr. Hong asked why he did it. They are from the same organization, aren't they? Bai Guan asked a counter-question, does he like monks? The guy said he hated the hell out of them. Because of their wretchedness and stinginess. He's sorry he knows one of them. That was their agreement, said Bai Guan. And it turns out that Mr. Hong didn't keep it. Looking at him, the guy saw that he had 2 Mugunia flowers. This meant that he had risen up the career ladder quite well in the last 3 years. So he broke his promise, and instead of practicing Buddhahood, he sat around sucking up to his elders. He left the guy no choice. In that case, he'd have to kill him with that pretty pen. The man cried out in fear that he had not willfully broken his promise. He had no choice. Bai Guan asked him, did he really think that he could reach such a rank just by sucking up to his superiors? The general replied that it's much easier to access classified information if you're a high-ranking officer. He tried to prove to everyone that there was a group of killers and their leader was the monk Yo-Wa, whose alias was Buddha, but no one believed him. Hwaguksa Temple is just another cultural site in their country. They thought he'd lost his mind. However, Major General Hong claimed that this was indeed the case. The results of his unit's investigation clearly show. Then he was warned that if he was not careful, he would incur the wrath of God. He was made to understand that it was not worth discussing religious figures here. And he would be better off doing something else. The investigation was stopped by his superior. The general pulled the documents for the kid to see for himself. This was information his unit had collected with blood and sweat. Bai Guan read the whole thing and said that his investigation was stopped because he had some nonsense. Mr. Hong replied that it may be so, but some of this nonsense was true. He said that he could live for the time being, but that he should not relax. With a smirk on his face, Bai Guan made it clear that he would help him to be unkilled by him. And he really hoped that they would get along now. The next day, a big surprise awaited all the workers at the Ulsan police station. Bai Guan opened the door of the station with all his might with his foot and wished everyone a good morning. The guys were shocked. Why the hell did he come? Wasn't he fired? The girl asked. The head of the police station, Choi Jin-ha, came out of his office and shouted. What's going on here? Why is there such a commotion in the workplace? He was shocked by what he saw, because the guy had been told not to come here again. Suddenly, Major General Hong appeared from behind the guy. The boss was immediately at a loss for words. But what had brought him to them? The department head asked shakily. He replied that he just wanted to check on his kyungsa to see how he was doing. The man's temperature spiked. He didn't know what was going on. He deigned to ask. But what is their relationship with Officer Kim? The Major General said that Kim Kyung-soo is his savior. He said to take good care of him, after everyone had said goodbye to him. He was left alone with Bai Guan and asked him if he needed any more help from him. The guy thought hard and said since he was a high-ranking officer, let him do another favor for him. Late at night at Hwaguksa temple, someone sneaked into the monk's quarters. He asked who was there. A man's voice answered him that he was just a poor parishioner whose soul harbored a bitter resentment. He is what is commonly known as a vengeful spirit. Without thinking long, the monarch threw sharp and fiery sticks at him. A man caught them and said that a monk should not ruin a temple praising the Buddha. The Buddha asked where did he get this mask from? The one replied that he had already said that he was a vengeful spirit. Then the monk snapped his fingers and called for help. He said that in that case, he should help him so that his soul might find peace. However, the masked man wiped them all out in a matter of minutes. Looks like a simple warm-up for him. He told the monk that he now had more souls to lay to rest. It was time for him to begin the ritual, otherwise they would become vengeful spirits like himself. The monk immediately called off his men. He said he doesn't know who sent him here, but it seems his soul is full of anger. Let him take off his mask and show his face. The man said he only came here to say hello. And he'll soon find out who lurks beneath that mask. Let him wait for his next visit. The monk rushed towards him to remove the mask himself. But he disappeared into the smoke, and only the mask remained on his hand. What kind of vengeful spirit is this? With anger, the monk broke his mask and said that in that case, he looked forward to seeing him. The next day, Baiguan met with the Major General. When the guy saw him, he said it was as if he had aged 10 years in a day. He told him it was all his fault. He had so much to clean up after the attack on the police station. And then there's that tear gas grenade he asked me to get. A man can't work overtime all the time to hide it all. It's not that simple. Baiguan said that he wouldn't have had to do all this if he had caught the bastard himself a long time ago. First, you have to gather evidence, then you have to file a formal lawsuit, then you have to work with the prosecutors. The guy didn't know it was so hard to arrest a criminal. Major General said he wouldn't know about it. Been around before, killing people left and right. The guy replied that he didn't kill anyone. He only killed those who deserved it. And the Major General is walking proof of that. The Major General argues that in this world, no one can be given the right to kill anyone. Even if the person deserves it, all people who break the law are condemned according to the law that created the society in which they live. The guy asked what he wanted to tell him. That they would convict the bastard according to the laws? The Major General replied that even if they arrested a dozen criminals, they should consider them innocent until proven otherwise. So they need substantial evidence to arrest the Buddha. However, this made Baiguan angry. The guy thought that maybe he should just create his own department already. The Major General immediately said that this was impossible, as he was a junior officer with zero experience, even if he thinks he's the strongest. In police structures, everything is subject to a ranking system. Who would he have to be to create his own department? Baiguan asked. The one replied to him that at least one small Mugunya badge was needed. Then in that case the guy was ready to take up the job. Our protagonist rushed to the station to find out. He asked Officer Jo Kwanghi what it takes to earn a promotion. The girl replied that she had to pass a special exam. Meanwhile, the guy was asked to follow the arrested girl. Officer Jo Kwanghi asked the guy, didn't he already say his memory was restored, then why can't he remember anything? The drunk girl begged the guy for a refill. Baiguan needs at least a year of experience. However, the guy is not satisfied with that, so maybe there is some way to make it quicker. The girl asked if he was trying to get Mugunya quickly. He replied that yes, he needed it very much. Let him not dream, because it will take at least 10 years for a rookie to earn Mugunya starting from the lowest rank. But he has a good acquaintance of a Major General, doesn't he? Maybe that would help somehow, the boy thought, a little jealous of that. There's another way, it's a special promotion. If he excels at catching criminals, he can earn that promotion. Right now, the newbies don't have any experience, so they do what they're told and deal with civil lawsuits. There are days that they go out on patrol. Hearing this, Baiguan disappeared before her eyes. The guy realized there's no point in a cop being a diligent sabrila. Their job is to catch criminals and put them behind bars. Then he'll have to work a little harder from now on. And earn that special promotion. Rumor has it that 1 in 3 people in Korea has committed acrimony at least once in their lives. Of course, these crimes are not always significant. But still, 1 in 3 is one too many. And of all the crimes being committed, Baiguan is now looking out, not the most insignificant. He's looking for someone to commit a serious crime. His dump will help him advance his career, crimes he never turned a blind eye to in his past life. Now we have our first offender. Meanwhile, the music in the nightclub suddenly stopped. The DJ asked the vacationers why they were so sluggish today. The girl comes over and says they need champagne. She thought they'd have a lot more fun. Then DJ said to get ready and let them open their mouths. Maybe the gentlemen have a backache. Would they like some warming patches? This party's going to another level. Let them party like there's no tomorrow. Suddenly, Baiguan shouted to the guy to let him have so much fun on his own. He'll be behind bars tomorrow, though. DJ asked Baiguan, was he mad because he couldn't find a girlfriend? And suggested that he take someone from the front row. He said he didn't need them. The guy knows those patches are drugs. Everyone was surprised to hear that. DJ started to deny it in every possible way. Who the hell is he? Why is he talking such nonsense? The guy unzipped his hoodie, said he was a police officer. The DJ immediately yelled to security, why did some cop manage to get into the club? What does the face control do? The guard said he didn't know. Baiguan threw a bottle of champagne at the guard to shut him up, and said they would continue their sweet talk in the cell. Out of fear, DJ yelled to his men to get everyone out of there. Tell them to pack their things. They had to leave. They reached the back exit. However, the door would not open. Baiguan had thought of everything in detail. He's put everyone in his way to sleep. Those bastards are getting to him, running back and forth from him for some reason, and finally the guy got to them. He asked if they were playing catch up with him. The guys turn around and see that he is alone and no one else is there. However, Baiguan says it's no big deal if that's the case. DJ felt better. How could he be scared of just a cop? He thought it was a police raid. In that case, DJ told his guards to put red band-aids on it. However, it doesn't matter to Baiguan. Red patches or white patches, he will still send them to the dentist. That's exactly how you should yell when you're in pain. By the way, now he can put a band-aid on his face. Once he was done with them, he approached the DJ. He immediately tried to resolve things peacefully and asked the police officer what he wanted. He could get absolutely anything. Baiguan was surprised and questioned him again. Was it really everything? He replied that it was absolutely everything. Money, drugs, women, and even power. The guy said he needed a special promotion from him. They should go, he'll find him some new friends. Last night, a gang involved in the distribution of narcotic substances was arrested in a 20 club located in Ulsan. This suggests that South Korea is no longer a drug-free country. The Major General thanked Officer Kim Kyung-soo for doing such a great job. Now the guy is a senior officer, he did a good job. Baiguan said that since now, he is no longer a rookie, let him listen to him and look at it. But what is it? Asked the Major General. The man replied that it was hidden in that nightclub, but how dare he take evidence from a crime scene? The guy said it was Polonia leaves. Doesn't that stress him out? Meanwhile, the sentencing was underway. The man claimed he wasn't involved in supplying Ulsan, but one of his subordinates betrayed him. The girl asked what they were waiting for and ordered him to be given another band-aid. He screamed begging for mercy from Miss Phoenix, but everything was already decided. Her older brother Baiguan died, and Brother Maple Leaf was punished. She doesn't want to be punished. She needs to hurry up and deal with that pesky cop. They call her the November Leaf of Polonia, Phoenix. Codename Sukanix, drug dealer. Training in a different body turned out to be not so bad for the guy because he's in good shape. Muscle, strength, flexibility, and endurance. He tries to keep balance in everything, however, to get rid of the Bodhisattva and his gang. To wipe them off the face of the earth, it's too little, he needs more time. The next morning, the police officers approached the guy with the question, how to get a promotion. After all, our protagonist is now a senior patrolman of the station. The guy didn't understand why the guys asked him to do that. They said that he had recently been promoted, and maybe he knew how to achieve such a result faster. Baiguan wondered why he should help them. The girl said that they had always been on his side and had always helped him. Joe Kyung-hee said that they endured punishments together. They also visited him in the hospital. They did everything for him. One of the officers approached Baiguan and asked, aren't they comrades? He had no comrades in his past life. He was called Bright December, a killer who chooses his own victim. He was envied by many because his elders considered him the best among all killers. Every time they met, they looked at him with a desire to kill him. You wouldn't wish such comrades on an enemy. Baiguan called them children that there were no comrades. Where had they seen ordinary patrolmen call a corporal with 2 stars their comrade? The girl replied that he was a selfish jerk. She offered to forget about her position and fight. Suddenly the station chief intervened in their conversation. He asked what they were doing here and why they were lounging around. The guys greeted him and told him they were out for a short break. The chief told them he liked them all anyway and called them flawed assholes. However, not everyone except his favorite Kyungsu. He's the star of their department. The chief patted the boy on the shoulder. When she saw that, she realized that the boss was just a corrupt idiot. Because Kyungsu was going to get him a promotion, so he was bending over backwards for him. Meanwhile, the Huang brothers were walking down the street after one of them was discharged from the hospital. Huang Yongchan was furious to hear that Kyungsu had now been promoted to senior corporal. To him, it sounds like nonsense. Brother Huang Chulminit said that everything in the ward has been revolving around him for the past few days. Huang Yongchan replied that he wouldn't believe it until he saw it himself. He should do something about it. Suddenly from behind, some girl asked the guys for help. Could they please tell her the way? Brother Yong told her that they didn't know anything themselves, so let her look in her phone. The girl said she'd love to, but the charger sat down. Seeing her, the guy's legs trembled a little. Chul Min's brother told Young Chan not to get overexcited or he'd go back to the hospital. The guys changed their minds about refusing her and asked her where she wanted to go. She replied that she was looking for a way to Ulsan Ward. The guys said they were just about to go there, they could go together. The girl said fine. Suddenly, she asked if they knew Kim Kyung-soo. The guys replied that he was filling in for them. But what does she want from him? The girl replied that she had something to give him. If she lost it, he would be very angry. The brothers already thought they were dating, and almost changed their minds about helping her, which would have been a shame. As a thank you, the girl offered to let them each have a bun if they got hungry on the way, and so she is November, nicknamed the Phoenix. According to the data that Bright December has gathered, she is responsible for all financial crimes in China. These guys are running drugs. The drugs themselves are divided according to their potency and are therefore called Buddha's tears. They are used by the top of the Huiguksa clan. But it's worth noting that it's the girl who fears punishment from the Buddha, and she's kind of freaky. Maybe there's something wrong with her psyche. Or maybe you didn't give her enough pacifiers when she was a baby. Officer Jo Kyung he asked the girl how they could help her. She replied that she needed Pavlonia flowers wrapped in leaves. The guy said they'll take a look at it. Jo Kyung he says they didn't get anything like this. The girl pointed her finger at Baiguan and said that the officer had them. Everyone was shocked to hear that. When he saw her, Baiguan realized that she hadn't changed at all. He had no idea what was going on in her head, and it looks like calls aren't coming in because of the plugs, so we can't call for backup. Surveillance cameras aren't working either. It all started back when they were fighting against each other. She was quite weak. Buddha asked if the boy had found anyone they could use. Then Baiguan replied that there was no one worthy. The man ordered everyone to be sent to heaven. They have all already lost their chance. Let them see the Buddha. The guy said that if you teach them, they might be able to do it. Buddha had already told Baiguan that he was not allowed to have sympathy. Suddenly the girl said she could still fight. She would train hard and be of use to them. The Buddha replied that if she wanted to be useful to him, then it would be quicker if she died and returned to him in the next life after reincarnation. The girl begged for mercy, but she could not change his mind. He ordered the servants to pour her a cup of poison. After that, Buddha told the boys to clean up and check that nothing had been missed. Suddenly they saw that the child was still breathing. The man told her she had a month to empty all the medication plates. That way she would prove to him that she could be useful. The girl agreed. Gradually she developed immunity, and as she grew older, the girl became a November Phoenix. She was very happy about this event in her life, that she was finally going to be useful. From that moment on, she became a crazy bitch drug addict. The girl couldn't stop asking the guy where her shit was. Baiguan replied that her shit was at his house. Maybe she wants to go to his house with him? The guy thought it would be best if she went outside with him and he could kill her. The girl called him a liar. There is no way she would believe that a policeman would keep drugs in his home. Did he think she'd fall for such a pathetic trick? The girl started pulling something out of the bag. Suddenly this crazy girl threw the drug patches to Bi-Guan, but unfortunately missed a bit. For their bodies, these patches were very strong. They fell on the table like shit into a toilet bowl. However, they were not the only ones affected. Everyone in the ward had taken the same doses. The girl asked Bi-Guan, he doesn't want them to die, right? If they are not helped, they might die soon. The guy saw the silencer on her shirt, and without thinking long enough he decided to rip it off and destroy it. The girl was furious. Bi-Guan told her that she could not worry about her shirt. Help was on the way. No one's watching them. Perfect conditions for a murder. The guy pulled out a police stick. The girl didn't understand what he was saying. Bi-Guan replied that she would understand when he beat the crap out of her. He suggested that she start immediately, to reminisce about the good old days. She smiled and asked, "Where are the officer's manners? Why does he threaten to beat up the girl and tear her clothes? Maybe he likes it rough." After saying that, she decided to attack first, but that turned out to be a bit of a knee to the forehead. She was furious, like she was about to burst. The guy said the girl was still ugly when she was angry. Phoenix said the guy surprised her a little. She asked, "He's not a regular cop, is he?" He replied that there was no need to hold a grudge. The girl speculated, maybe he was from a special unit or special forces. Bi-Guan said maybe, but what does she think? Phoenix pulled out some red band-aid and said she didn't care about his past work. She put that crap on his neck. However, the girl thinks he'll have to look for a job in hell soon. She will believe that he will find the right one for him, but the guy doesn't think so. Is she really that naive? The guy said, hitting her again. How could she ever think that one band-aid would be enough? Maybe she hadn't yet realized that she needed at least 10 of those patches if she wanted to even try to resist him. Bi-Guan said she hasn't changed at all. She still relies on drugs and doesn't pay much attention to training. Right now, however, given the circumstances, it was only to his advantage. Phoenix shouted, who did he think he was to even pretend to know her? The guy swept her off her feet and asked her who she thought he was. Being on the verge of death after such a beating, didn't any guesses emerge? Bi-Guan realizes that the drugs have already made her brain leak, but he hopes the girl will remember before she dies. He pressed the baton into her throat, but unfortunately it just folded up. The girl ended up hitting Bi-Guan. Looks like the quality of these batons is crap. They give these to low-ranking officers? Now I see why they fight like suckers. Phoenix put on another band-aid and rushed toward the boy. Bi-Guan said he hadn't seen patches like this before. Some new kind. It worked through touching the clothes. But looking at her, it's safe to say she didn't get any better. She also asked who the hell was he? Suddenly, a man in a rooster mask intervened in their conversation and said that they had received a message from Orchid. Reinforcements will be here very soon. The guy told the Phoenix to get out of there. Well, he's gonna take pity on her today. They'll see each other again, won't they? Bi-Guan realized that the police won't chase her. They die if they tried to touch her. The girl took off her mask and told the puppeteer to gather everyone quickly. They would still have time to leave. Phoenix couldn't understand how this guy knew her. This policeman reminded her of Bi-Guang's brother for some reason. Backup arrived, but already there was nothing left of the puppet theater but lying bodies. The Major General told Bi-Guang that he was the one who missed them, but it would have been better if he hadn't said that because he got a baton in his face. The guy answered him that this would not have happened if he had been given proper equipment. Is it even normal for a baton to break from the slightest pressure? Hong Jun said that they are normal batons. They don't really need to be strong because they aren't used like that. Bi-Guan showed him his hands and said he couldn't feel them. The man shouted for the doctor to come over. This was something the guy didn't expect. He was lucky that the Phoenix ran away in fear. All it took was one touch through his clothes. They'd increased the original dose, or it was a new drug. Looking at the boy's hands, the doctor didn't know what was wrong. It looks like she'll soon become a walking drug herself. Bi-Guan expected something simple, but I guess it's going to take some effort. The boy looked at the Major General and said he had a request for him. The man wondered, what was it this time? When Bi-Guan came home, there were some uninvited guests waiting. To be more precise, the guys in rooster masks came to get their drugs. The Cockneys threw a smoke grenade with a drug. They used a drug that causes hallucinations and death. Ms. Phoenix asked me to up the dosage to the maximum. Maybe the kid will see more than hallucinations and die of an overdose. However, Bai Guan had prepared in advance. He asked the Major General for some equipment, not cheap but the best there was. He knew that someone would still come for the drugs. Guy was surprised that Phoenix herself was afraid to come in person, just a lousy scaredy cat. He didn't care about her though. It was time to try out this expensive equipment. He hoped they wouldn't yell too much. The roosters trembled, wondering if the gun was loaded. They cheered each other up, thinking the guy wouldn't shoot. Bai Guan fired a shot that made the walls shake. He said that the gun was not bad at all, and it didn't matter that the bullets were rubber bullets. The neighbors jumped out in fear, and when they saw the policeman they asked what happened. They replied that everything was fine, let them go home, but shots were heard, weren't they? The policeman replied that they were already looking into the matter. They were just rubber bullets, do they even breathe? But how many times did the guy fire? Asked Major General. Bai Guan said they got what they deserved. They may wake up during transport. The main thing is to make sure that the poison pills are taken out from under their tongue. The Major General looked at the boy and asked him if he was really Bai Guan. He replied, was he doubting it all this time? He still gave him the equipment. The man said he had no other choice. How could anyone in their right mind believe that? But, after the incident with the drugs and Phoenix, and now also with these guys, he is 99% sure that the guy is Bai Guan. The guy asked why not 100%? The man said he took away the percentage because if he really is Bai Guan, why didn't he find and kill Monk Yo Hua? However, the Major General himself has already said that we need hard evidence. How can a policeman think like that? The man replied that this was true from the point of view of a police officer. Bai Guan said that Monk Yo Hua is a Buddha and is respected by the whole country. People see him as a rebirth of Buddha. If that bastard dies, what will the public say? Killing him won't solve the problem completely. That side of the world is bigger than you can imagine. The man asked if there were other organizations besides Waguksa. Bai Guan replied that he was not interested in the others. All he wants is to see the bastard stripped of his power, in every sense. That's the only way the guy will calm down. Bai Guan wants to make sure that no one else has to live the life he lived. Major General says he'll help him. Offers to cooperate and together put him behind bars. The guy replied that he's the one helping him by protecting him from himself. So don't let him worry about it. If he doesn't want to die, then let him be a goody-goody and obey him. He replied that no problem. Bai Guan said that it wasn't that he didn't try to kill him, unfortunately he just couldn't. At this time Buddha decided to massage the Phoenix's neck. The girl begged him to stop, that the massage was very rough. She just gasped. Then the man decided to put her on a warm floor. He called her a filthy rag. Had all the brains gone from the drugs? Buddha didn't understand. She had all the merchandise seized. Why was it necessary to break into the police station? I guess it was time to teach a lesson. The crying girl lay on the warm floor and apologized. She said she was wrong, but it wouldn't happen again. Suddenly the door opened and someone came into this treatment room. The guy said she's acting like an innocent child. Hit another bottom. Junkie. If she keeps crying, the stress will deflate her muscles. But with her dead muscles, there's nothing to deflate. They're called Lespedez's brothers. Phoenix asked Buddha, what are these idiots doing here? From the other door, some girl came in to visit. She asked the Phoenix if she thought they were all here at the invitation of Lord Buddha. They call it the cherry blossom. Buddha said that at last everyone was gathered, so we could begin. In that case, he declares the November Phoenix elimination proceedings open. The girl kept begging for mercy. She promises she'll get it back. Let them give it another chance. The man said he didn't need to give anything back. He's already given it back perfectly well on his own. Buddha asked the guys if they thought she should live. The guys replied that they should get rid of this drug-addicted mutt. Using drugs to get stronger, what could be more disgusting? The girl whose nickname is Sakura Blossom said that over the years, she have become very close. But you have to be the best to survive in this cold and cruel world. Buddha proclaimed that the majority had voted to get rid of her. The girl began to roar even harder and said he was too cruel. They were going to get rid of her from the beginning. Why did they have to bring in bastards who were against her? The cherry blossom tree, hearing this, was shocked. She didn't expect Phoenix to treat her like this. The girl provided Buddha with a weapon that was once already used to kill our protagonist Guan. The man pointed the barrel at Phoenix and said he didn't need useless helpers. There were only seconds left for Buddha to pull the trigger. And the last thing on the girl's mind was to say that she had invented some new drug. Phoenix claims this drug is 5 times stronger than the past. She designed its structure herself, so it will be difficult to detect during a search. The man was very interested in what he heard. He asked the girl how many kilograms she had. Phoenix answered that she had about 10 kilograms. Buddha immediately asked about delivery. The girl said she had set up a network in the red light district in Korea, Japan, China, and all of Southeast Asia. Phoenix begged to be given another 6 months so she could fix things and become useful to him. Buddha replied that he had too much to lose because of her tricks. Let her prove that she deserved to live and gave her 3 months to do everything. Meanwhile, the officers were recovering from the attack by Phoenix and her gang. Some felt better immediately, some not so much. The doctors said the girl was still not fully recovered from the drugs. What a pitiful sight, said Guan. What is she saying? The guy asks the guys. One of the officers thinks she's asking him to wipe her drool. That's disgusting, the guy replied. The police officer was surprised that the guy came to check on them. Did he realize they were his colleagues? Guan replied that they visited him when he was in the hospital, so they decided to pay their respects. The guys asked him if he was going to get a special promotion again. The guy replied that no one has messed with him yet. They are a bit even envious of him, because he is climbing the career ladder so quickly. Guan advised him not to be envious, but to pick himself up and work hard. After saying that, the boy decided to leave. The guys watched him leave and didn't realize where their friend Kyungsa was. The guy had changed a lot. Major General Hong Jun says there's a rat in the department. He wanted the drugs the boy brought in to be analyzed, but they are missing. Someone broke the law and took them out. Guan asked if there was any clue who it might be. The man has no idea and says he can't know everything about the police system. You can't keep track of everything. Guan said the drugs were the main evidence. He'll bring more when he goes to catch the Phoenix. He'd better deal with the internal police department and try to speed up and get information from Phoenix's subordinates. He replied that he was still interviewing them. In addition, the guy mentioned that the Major General had said that he had a special team to investigate the Huigux clan. When will these people start working? The man thought for a long time whether to tell the boy the truth. He answered that in fact they were all dead, there was no one left. These words greatly disappointed Guan. How dare he even lie to him? Hong Jun said that he didn't trust him back then, so he had to. Without thinking for a long time, the guy decided to correct the Major General's tooth. He shouted at him not to move, or it would hurt. The man almost shit his pants in fear. He suggested that Guan create a new unit, but, after all, the Major General had already said that you need at least 1 manhua to make your team. The guy replied that he already has 2 stars, who could be against that anyway? The guy said he was against it, he likes to work alone. The man assures that because he said himself that he needed a team. Guan says it's because he did everything wrong. That's not what the guy meant. The Major General replied that he was Corporal Kim Kyungso and the police are a complex organization. He'll only be able to work alone for so long. It will be easier for him to work with a team, get more funding and be more accountable. It's the Major General's orders, and the lad can't refuse him. Let him assemble a troop. A man can't make his own because there is too much surveillance and too many risks. The guy doesn't understand the meaning of the word order. Let the Major General ask nicely and he will comply. The man said please, let him assemble a team. After saying these words, Guan went to the hospital and suggested that his fellow department members become a team. The first thing that interested the boys was that how could a corporal form his own squad? The lad replied that he had orders from the Major General. They asked Guan who he would take on the team. He replied that there was no one else in the station but the 3 of them. The guys were shocked that the guy picked them. They thought he had become a nasty jerk when he hit his head, but he seemed to still be thinking about them. They were grateful for the opportunity and said they would plow like horses. One of them even thought he would die behind the papers. He is very happy that there are good colleagues like Kim Kyung-soo. The guy said there are no co-worker assistants, let them know their place. He needs obedient people who will follow his orders. The guys asked him if he didn't consider them colleagues. He said yes, they were his slaves. These are the people who die when he commands and live as long as he wants. If they understand everything, they can call him master. Based on the report that Major General Bai Guanu provided, this guy's name is Huang Hejun. He's 25 years old. He does boxing, kickboxing, taekwondo, and other martial arts. Based on his record, he's a perfect fit. However, he failed the written exam 4 times, and somehow got here. He seems to be in over his head. The balding guy's name is Lee Sung-hyun and he is also 25 years old. Seeing him for the first time, Bai Guan thought that the guy was always wanting to go to the bathroom. He is good at martial arts with grappling and parterre, jiu-jitsu, and judo. He has a good personal record as well, but during interviews, he starts crying, just like some baby. Maybe his hurts. And finally Jo Kyung-hee, 25 years old. She has no martial arts skills and ranked last in physical fitness. This girl is the weakest officer in the whole department. However, she won first place in the written exam, and has been successful in job interviews. That shows she's very smart. The girl asked to join the squad. The next day the boys had the day off, but Bai Guan decided that they should start practicing immediately. He told them not to stand and to start warming up already. The first task for the boys is that as police officers, they must try to neutralize a dangerous killer. They have 5 minutes to prepare. Huang Hejun wondered if the guy was sure, after all, 3-on-1. And Lee Sung-hyun is worried too. What if the host gets hurt? Bai Guan said they have exactly 4 minutes left. Can we stop talking nonsense already? The guys gather to decide how to defeat their master. Jo Kyung-hee suggested that Hejun pretend to attack him, and Sung-hyun should pin him to the ground. Hejun misunderstood the girl a bit and asked again, should he just run straight at him? Kwang-hee called him an idiot and said he's a boxer. Let him trick the guy with the movement of his legs. Bai Guan took off his outer clothes, said the time is up. If they are ready, I can attack. The first to go was Hejun with his footwork cheating technique. The guy asked what was it? A distracting tap dance? The girl yelled he's a total asshole. Let him come closer. Is he a boxer or a floor cloth? The guy may have been a boxer once, but probably only in his dreams. Bai Guan fixed his teeth with his fist. Maybe he'll get smarter. The guy decided to ask the guys, are they messing with him? What kind of puppet theater is this? The girl motivated Lee Sung-hyun and ordered him to attack. However, the cowardly guy told her that he was very scared, so he decided to run away. Bai Guan caught up with the guy and gave the advice that you shouldn't show your back to an assassin. Most of the time it only ends in death. He called him an empty-headed idiot and recommended that he clean his nose more often, or his hygiene should be looked after. Jo Kyung-hee was next in line. She asked the host. He wouldn't raise his hand to the girl, right? Without thinking for a long time, the guy asked her a counter question. Don't women work for the police? And slightly disfigured her pretty face. Bai Guan said they need to come down from heaven to earth. How are they going to catch criminals? They have 10 minutes to rest, after which they will repeat the drill 3 more times. If they don't want to get punched in the face, they'll show what they can do. The next day, the Major General decided to ask Bai Guan how the squad was getting on. He replied that it was terrible. They're not cops, they are trash. He doesn't understand how they pass the police exams. The man thinks the guy is too hard on them. Why beat them so badly? Bai Guan replied that they are not after common criminals, but people like him, they don't stand a chance. But Angry Boy has another question. When will the Major General finish interrogating those Phoenix subordinates? It's been so long and he still hasn't made any progress. However, the man said he doesn't know what he should do if they are still silent. He wants them to confess. The guy said they were dealing drugs. They have their own people everywhere. What does he even count on? He's sorry he missed those roosters. Bai Guan said he would do the interrogation himself. Hong Jun asked him not to torture them, and he agreed. As expected, the country takes human rights seriously. The Major General has nothing to say. The guy said he had a great idea that we could do without torture. He could definitely do it. Upon entering the interrogation room, the guys immediately told him that they wouldn't tell him anything. Bai Guan asked how Sang Muk was doing. Gro Medina and the lover of blue-flowered clothing. Right-handed Phoenix or maybe left-handed. And that doggy, can't remember his name, but he hangs around the Phoenix too. The guys were shocked to hear how this guy knew everything. They asked him who he was and what was his name. The guy said they hadn't seen each other for a long time. His name was Baiguan and they needed to talk for a while. Mr. Baiguan, one of the criminals, asked the guy. And his comrade immediately reminded him that Mr. Baiguan had been dead for a long time. However, this guy really looks like him. Baiguan said they've met before. He recognizes these scars, they're from stiletto heels. Phoenix beat him up when she found out he was stealing drugs from her. It's really true. Is Mr. Baiguan alive? The guy said that Buddha gave him a secret mission. Baiguan had to fake his death and infiltrate the police system and closely monitor the top-ranking officers. He'd heard that Phoenix had lost her dope and stormed into the police station, but she'd ended up coming back with nothing. November Phoenix Paulonia. And what did this thing come up with this time? Maybe they know something? The guy said he jammed the comms with orchid plugs, so they can talk in peace. Phoenix's fate depends on their answer. If she's lying on the bed in the shelter and biting her fingers after making all this mess, then, by Buddha's order, he will be forced to terminate her life. The guys told him he didn't have to worry about Mrs. Phoenix. She's creating a new drug right now. Now that's interesting, said the guy, and told them to tell everything they knew about this new drug. Unbelievable, said the Major General upon seeing the interrogation report. A drug that will be 5 times stronger than the previous one. In 6 months, they're gonna spread it around the streets. The report identifies all the clubs where the Phoenix subordinates work, as well as the gangs that supply them with drugs. The man asked Baiguan if he had any luck finding out Phoenix's location. He said that even that bald idiot doesn't know where she is. Probably only the assistants know about it. The Major General says then we'll have to bring them here and find out all the information. The guy replied that right, we'd have to break into their headquarters and bring them here. However, Baiguan assures that it won't be so easy to get some information this time. Meanwhile, Cho Sang-mook, the head of the sales department, stopped by to ask Ms. Phoenix if she was in too much of a hurry. Why only 3 months for everything? Hasn't she heard the saying, a quieter ride will get you farther? His buddy thinks he's right, too. His name is Kim Dong-chul, the production manager. He heard that the cops have already caught 2 of them. It's risky to rush, and he thinks it's better to ask Mr. Buddha for more time. Phoenix asked if they would take responsibility if he told her off again. Suddenly a girl intervened in their conversation and said that of course she could take full responsibility. Her name is Sun Pai, and she thinks that fear has settled on Madame Phoenix's heart. What happened to her when she wasn't around? Phoenix said if she says they have to do it in 3 months, they have to do it in 3 months. She told Jung Sang-mook to contact all the suppliers and expedite the delivery dates. And Kim Dong-chul to prepare everything necessary and let Sun Pi stay. They need to talk and maybe get some rest. Hugging her friend Phoenix, Sun Pai told her not to be afraid. Let her always remember that she was there to take care of everything. Meanwhile, another training session for the officers was taking place. The boys begged Baiguan to slow down. The guy said they had been resting for 10 minutes. Let them get up and attack further, they will rest in another life. The girl couldn't stand on her feet anymore. She asked Kyungsoo, didn't he think it was too much? Verdi had never said a word about this kind of training. The guy decided to remind them that they themselves said they would do anything he said. Kwang Hee shouted that this was some kind of torture. They joined the squad to catch criminals, not to fight him. Baiguan hesitated after saying that. He asked, do they want to catch criminals? The guy said of course they did. Then the guy ordered them to follow him. We can't fall behind. Baiguan led them straight to a drug warehouse, where there's a bunch of gangsters waiting to be punished. Everyone was shocked by this encounter. The guy asked the officers what they were waiting for. The criminals were right in front of them. Didn't they want to catch them? After these words, the warehouse foreman realized that these guys were real cops. The guy gave them a big slap on the back and told them to have fun, and he'd watch the exit so they wouldn't get help. The police officers didn't know what to do next. Hee-jun says he's fought one-on-one before, but not against a crowd yet. Sang-hyun wants to go home at all. The girl said that first of all they need to calm down. It's not like they're going to die here. Kyungsoo's an asshole, but not enough to abandon them. She thinks he'll help them, but now we need to show him that they deserve to be called cops too. Don't let him think they're wusses. As expected, this is a girl smart enough to realize that it's best to stay calm in these situations, except that she's useless. Kwang Hee ordered the guys to attack, making sure to strike first. But the first punch doesn't count for our boxer. Maybe he's got a problem with his eyes as well as his head. If you put your head under a fist, it should hurt. But Hee-jun said it didn't hurt at all. The guys watched him get beaten up and didn't realize if he was okay or not. The guy says that compared to Kwangsu, this jerk fights like a kid, or maybe he's just so used to Kwangsu's punches that he doesn't feel any pain at all. Sung-hyun would be shocked by Hee-jun's actions. Maybe their punches really are weak compared to the master. Suddenly, a criminal with a stick came at the guy from behind, but the brave Sung-hyun saved him. Bae-kwon looked at this and realized that they had become stronger. These two would be useful to him if he trained them a little more. The manager behind the warehouse stood up and said his men were useless assholes, letting two pathetic cops kick their asses. He took off his shirt and showed his pot belly. Bae-kwon thought it was all over now. They had let fear overpower reason. If you let fear into your mind, the pain will only get worse. Looks like they still have a lot to learn. The man wondered how those two idiots had even managed to beat up his boys. Maybe they didn't sleep well tonight. Suddenly the girl got down on her knees and said she was giving up. She will tell everything she knows, but don't let him hit her. Watching her, the guy thought she was completely stupid. How could she give up so easily? But it seemed to be just a distraction. The girl pulled a stun gun from her pocket and tickled the man's leg. He called her a filthy rag and almost hit her pretty head with his beautiful shoes. Bae-kwon decided it was time to intervene. The guy put the bulky guy to bed and asked the guys. Now they all realized how it felt. Did they realize how useless they were? We need to leave and take the drugs from the table with us. But what about the criminals? The officers asked. Bae-kwon replied that someone else would take care of that. Why go to all this trouble? So now he's got 3 skids to haul, he doesn't need any more. A couple of hours later, Jong Sang-muk, the head of the sales warehouse, arrived at the warehouse. The man began to make excuses, saying that he was not to blame for what had happened. Jung Sang-muk seems to have been a dentist in his past life. He decided to check if all the man's teeth were intact. Suddenly turning his head, the boss saw a map on the table. This card is unusual, for its owner is Phoenix herself, but who left it? The Major General was surprised at the amount of drugs in the box. With this, they could become drug dealers, so the information was accurate. They can stick to the original plan. The guy asked if the ambush plan had been approved. Hong Jun replied that of course. The man introduces him to one of the officers about to take part in the ambush. She is one of those he trusts. Let him say hello to a member of the operation, a member of the national agency, Chief Inspector Kim Ah-hyun. The Major General introduced Senior Officer Kim Kyung-so and told the girl to take a seat. She was surprised that a simple senior officer was sitting in the Major General's office as if he were at home. Had he lost his fear? The guy said his feet hurt. The Major General shouted that it was all right, we should calm down and get on with the plan. The girl replied that she disagreed. She demands that the older officer stand up and says she doesn't like rude kids. The guy told her to make him get up if she wanted him to so badly. But he wouldn't get up himself. Bae-kwon says that Chief Inspector and Chief Officer start with the words OLD, so he doesn't see a strong difference between them. Let him stop being ignorant. The girl got angry after saying that, and called him a bastard. She made him get up. The Major General told the Chief Inspector that it was better not to provoke the guy into a fight. The girl decided to show off her talents. It looks like a Brazilian kick. The members of the national agency are not at all like Hwang Hee-jun, they are on a different level altogether. The Chief Inspector was shocked at how the guy had the nerve to dodge her blows. She realized this wasn't working on him and decided to grab hold of him and forcefully lift him up. The girl moved into hand-to-hand combat in no time and her feet are quick. Lee Seon-hyung is no match for her. She could definitely be useful to his plan, but right now she needed to calm down a bit. The guy asked her. The girl had said she was going to make him get up, so what was she doing laying around on her own? She got a second wind and decided to wave her hand a couple more times. Bae-kwon said she had a great body. The man said that from now on he would reveal the details of the Phoenix operation on top of the Polonia. According to reports, the last weekend of every month, the drug managers meet at a basement club. That works out to 15 days from now. We have to wait for the right moment, and then the second squad, led by Chief Inspector Kim Ah-hyun and Senior Officer Kimi Kyung-so's team, will put the plan into action. The girl immediately said she objected. Can the information in the reports be trusted? The Major General replied that Kyungsa got the information during the interrogation. And Hyun doesn't believe it because she interrogated them too, they just kept quiet. The guy says he'd better be thankful he got the information. And why don't you stop complaining? She won't trust the information until she hears everything herself from those criminals. The girl wants to re-interview. The Major General said you should have thought of it earlier. Re-examination is impossible because they are dead. The girl shouted, "What does security do?" The man said that in any case it was necessary to make sure that everything was ready for the operation. Everyone is free to go, they will see each other at the next meeting. Senior Officer Kim Kyungsa let him stay for a moment. The girl didn't understand what was going on at all, why he had to stay. The last thing she said was that she was an experienced marksman and to get ready, she'd be coming for him soon with a gun in her hand. The boy realized that she was definitely out of her head. The Major General said to listen carefully and showed him what was found in the interrogation room besides the dead bodies. The man asked if he knew anything about this map. Maybe he's seen it somewhere before? Isn't that a crane? Jo Sang-mook tells Ms. Phoenix that this map was found in a warehouse where the cops were. Kim Dong-chul suggests reporting the situation to Mr. Buddha. The girl said it can't be, Bae-gwon's brother is dead. Mr. Buddha will punish her for such nonsense. It doesn't make any sense, we have to stick to the plan. If she fails this time, she's finished. But why did the cops leave Bae-gwon's card behind? She doesn't understand anything, she needs to carry out the plan at any cost. No one can stop her. Phoenix started screaming like a madwoman. The men ordered that they should call San-pi soon, she was the only one who could heal all her wounds. Sang-pi made the best potion and felt better. Madam Phoenix orders the guys to just stick to the plan. But Kim Dong-chul thinks it's too dangerous. The cops know about everything and they'd better worry about something else. Then, she told Sang-pi to give them one band-aid each. When you worry too much, things always go wrong. The girl said to come closer, she was just about to peel, so they got the freshest ones. Now all worries are fading. Everything must go according to plan. So they'll continue to execute it. Meanwhile, there was supposed to be another training session for the officers. But the guys didn't show up, did they run away? Asked by Gwon to Officer Kyung-hee, she said they had to stop by the hospital before practice. The guy called them wimps, but maybe it was for the best. The girl decided to take advantage of the situation and offered to rest since she was alone today. However, Bae-gwon told her that until the guys came, they would train together, one-on-one, and it would be a special secret training session. The girl was curious about this proposal to the point of trepidation. The first thing our awesome coach told Officer Kyung-hee was that she had a shitty body. The girl almost fainted at such words. She replied that she had a good body. But the guy went on to say that she was full of shit. She has no muscles, terrible stamina. You could say she's like a log. And she can't fight at all. They are about to be sent for surgery, and she will most likely die first. The girl asked, "What kind of surgery is that?" At first the guy couldn't understand how she was allowed to become a police officer, but after a while he found a perfectly decent explanation. Bae-gwon knew that the girl was smart and had some strange intuition, but she turned out to be much better than his expectations. As far as the guy knows, she remembers the numbers of every restaurant in the neighborhood. That's why they gave her the nickname, the walking delivery app. The officers at the station can't order food now that Kim Kyung-soo has taken Kwang-hee away. Big Gwon said that if she didn't want to die young, it was best to focus on her strengths and stop hiding her weaknesses. From now on, when practicing, let him think of this baton as a weapon. When folded, it will be a knife. And when unfolded, as a striking weapon. He promised he would be careful with her so she could study. So let her try to memorize everything. The girl asked what she needed to memorize. Bae-gwon replied that she would soon understand everything. The boys came and saw that the training was going on without them. They asked the owner what they were doing here. The guy asked them a question, were they sure though they knew? The girl said it was too harsh. Bae-gwon says they don't need to worry, they'll find out soon enough on their own. The guys reply that they want to live the rest of their lives without knowing. Time passed and 15 days later came the day of the Phoenix operation on top of the Polonia. The boys survived 15 days of hard training. They never want that kind of hell again. But what kind of operation is this? The girl thought. For them and for the members of the national agency, the chief inspector asked Bae-gwon what exactly are they doing in the forest thicket? If they don't find anything here, he's dead. The guy said a little more. Suddenly, Baiguan indicated to stop. They had arrived. They need to go through this tunnel. Chief Inspector Kim Ah-hyun decided to handle these two roosters by herself. Her Brazilian kick is unparalleled. She reported that she had successfully dealt with the two guards and could continue the operation further. Baiguan turned to Kwang-hee and said that the chief inspector has a good body, not like her. Suddenly, Kim Ah-hyun stopped the guys. She told them to stay here and follow the guards. It was originally a bad idea that a national agency would work with some city cops. She only let them go because of the Major General's orders. Let them stay out of the way, they're just a nuisance. Baiguan agreed and said that she was on her own now. It was even better for them because they wouldn't have to sweat. After these words, the national agency followed its commander to carry out the assigned task. They go to where the two guards had been eliminated, where endless stairs and passageways stretched out. A place where the music is playing loudly but people are walking around like zombies, staggering in different directions. The girl is shocked by what she sees. She doesn't understand what's wrong with these people. Maybe they've eaten too much chocolate? Kim Dong-chul had assumed that the cops would be stopping by soon. There was a reason he had a bad feeling today. He has an announcement for the club's regulars. At the moment, unexpected guests burst into the club to spoil the party. If they successfully capture and deliver them to him, he will give a card for unlimited drug use for a month. The chief inspector shouted for everyone to raise their shields. Operation Phoenix on top of the Paulonia had begun. Kim Dong-chul realized that they couldn't just shoot them because there would be big trouble. The girl decided to throw a smoke grenade and shouted to her squad to put on their masks immediately, but they seemed to be immune to tear gas. How silly, they experience such intense pleasure that they don't feel pain. Did they naively think it would work? The man radioed for all the drugs to be collected and for Mrs. San-P to be taken out the back door. Suddenly, Baiguan walked into the building. He walked over the heads of the national agency and jumped to the second floor. The first thing the guy did upon landing was break Kim Dong-chul's radio with his sharp knife. He said he underestimated him. Unlike the boss, subordinates are required to master martial arts. The man was distracted by what was happening on the first floor and Baiguan walked the knife across his body. The guy asked him why he turned away. Maybe he didn't seem strong enough for him? It's not a fatal wound, so don't let him worry too much. He promised not to kill anyone if possible. The guy wouldn't take his life. So he stabs his hands with his knife and shackles them to the wall. Let him stay here for now, and don't go anywhere. Meanwhile, Kim Ah-hyun's squad had finished calming people down and were already heading to the second floor. But suddenly Kim Dong-chul was freed. He put on band-aids that helped stop the bleeding but not the pain. The girl wondered how the man was able to lift his arms in such a state. Dong-chul only thought of one thing. Who was that guy? Was he from the national agency too? Baiguan cleaned up everything in his path and yelled for Phoenix to come out. They needed to see each other urgently. And Hyun told the man he was surrounded, have him put his hands up and go downstairs. They would give him first aid. Dong-chul hadn't seen so many police officers since he left the special unit. He greeted everyone and said his name was Kim Dong-chul from Squad 29. What unit are they from? The girl ordered them to open fire. Meanwhile, our cowardly squad was carefully guarding the entrance to the tunnel. They were worried if Kwang-soo was okay. Shots were heard, but the guy told them to stay here. Officer Kwang-hee doesn't like it at all. Why was it necessary to bring them there and make them wait on the sidelines? Or did they take them just for numbers? Why did they even need this secret training? Standing there like the last suckers on earth. Suddenly, their conversation was disturbed by Jo Sang-mook. He asked the guys what they were doing here. Fucking cops. The girl fired her taser at him, but the man broke it with his bare hands. He said it only tingled a little. Korea has strict regulations on the use of firearms. It is a highly debated topic in the country, and for the police, this is no exception. A case of a police officer firing live ammunition is seen no more than once a year. They are mostly trained to use non-lethal weapons such as tasers or rubber bullets. Meanwhile, the national agency was trying to catch Kim Dong-chul. They shot at him with rubber bullets. But the man shielded himself with a table and waited for things to calm down. Kim Ah-hyun got tired of waiting and gave the order to move to live ammunition. The girl decided to warn the man. She said her name is Kim Ah-hyun from the ZO squad. The next shots will be live ammunition. so let him leave the confrontation and surrender. Also said that he needs urgent medical attention, otherwise he will die. Kim Dong-kol replied that he chooses death over rotting behind bars without access to drugs. The girl yelled that he was completely nuts if he cared more about drugs than his own life. Kim Dong-kol said his life was turned upside down when he found drugs in one of his operations. Taking advantage of his position, the man searched the area for the best product, but each time, his body became immune to the drugs. And he stopped enjoying it. Only Phoenix alone could give him new colors to life and a fresh start. That night, he was needed again. The girl gave him her candy and told him it was made from the choicest product. At that moment, he felt as if he had been electrocuted. He had never felt anything like it before. Phoenix said that if he worked for her, he'd get candy much better than this. So he told her he'd do anything for her. However, the girl warned him that he had to promise not to eat more than one a day or he would get very sick. The man thought that if he was destined to die anyway, there was no point in the promise anymore. He's lost too much blood. He only had one question on his mind. Who was this guy, anyway? It hurts him too much to realize that he won't be able to eat candy anymore. This pain is even worse than death. Kim Ah-hyun yelled to get ready to open fire. They'll have to have a fight. Suddenly the man opened fire, but he did not show himself. The girl immediately realized that they were ricocheting bullets. He went out and shouted to the troop of roosters not to stand and start firing. Let them give their commander a lavish funeral. Meanwhile, Baiguan, having eliminated all the guards, opened the doors and saw her. The girl wondered who was making so much noise. She had heard about him from Lady Phoenix. Sangpai wanted to visit him herself, but it looks like he beat her to it. The guy asked if they got his gift. The girl realized what gift she was talking about. It was a Phoenix card. She asked who he was. Baiguan replied that he often hears this question, but it doesn't bother him at all. It's time to remember the good old days. The National Agency squad also continued to shoot Kim Dong-kol, but this time with firearms bullets. They thought the man should have died after that, but he jumped down to the first floor to them as if nothing had happened, and destroyed one of them. He said not to raise the shield without thinking. Or did they think he was incapable of anything because he could barely breathe? The man walked up to Kim Ah-hyun and asked, "She doesn't want to hit her comrades, does she?" The girl quickly responded to such a question from the perpetrator with her Brazilian punch. "I also shot him with rubber bullets. Maybe now he'll finally die." She ordered the others to see if their comrade was breathing. The guy said the guy was dead. However, by some miracle, Kim Dong-chul stood up and said that he was not dead yet. A man threw a smoke grenade, and before anyone saw anything, he decided to take them out one by one. Whoever opened his mouth first was immediately eliminated. The man said they were pathetic for panicking over the death of their comrade. Technology is improving every year, but the people who use it are getting dumber. They are too weak and have no experience at all. Let them take it as a lesson. And the price for such a hand will be their lives. In the thickest part of the smoke, gunshots ring out, and immediately the body of a breathless comrade falls. Did Kim Ah-hyun get scared for her life? When the fear of death slowly fades away, one has to inevitably face reality. She felt fear and despair for the first time in her life. Kim Ah-hyun couldn't get a word out of her mouth. Suddenly, the cowardly cops and Jo Sang-mook ran into the basement club screaming. They didn't understand why nothing worked on this guy. Jo Kwang-hee shouted that what was the purpose of this secret training then? It was all useless after all. Kim Kyo-soo, you damn liar. Baiguan's secret training was quite exhaustive. He told them all about the vital organs of a human being, taught to aim blunt weapons at the solar plexus, back of the head, between the legs, and at the joints, and sharp weapons should have been used to hit the places with the most blood vessels. Baiguan warned that if they encountered an enemy while on a mission, they should hit points depending on the weapon they had in their hand. However, the guy said there are always some exceptions. Looks like Jo Sang-mook is that exception. The boys shouted to the superintendent to help them. But the girl just kneeled down and thought about the horror around her. Jung Sang-mook saw all of this and smiled and said that Dong-chul did a great job of getting rid of unnecessary trash. However, upon looking and seeing him motionless and sitting in a pool of blood, the man was momentarily speechless. Baiguan remembered that Sangpai was the former Phoenix mistress. He asked the girl where the new one was hiding. Sangpai decided not to answer such a question and asked the guy again who he was. Baiguan replied that he would let her guess. She was far from being a break in such things, she should have realized by now. She said she wasn't sure, but to her he was an interesting man who told curious things. Under other circumstances, Sangpai would have invited him in for a cup of tea and a chat. Baiguan, seeing her pulling out her dope, decided to fix her makeup for free. It's better than her vitamins. The guy said there was no point in socializing and at the same time sneaking a band-aid. He'd just attack and not waste time on band-aids. Brazilian kook is said to cure all ills. The girl decided to swallow the pill that was in her mouth, but Baiguan managed to stop her from doing so. He said that it was also too predictable. The guy pulled out a pill and asked, is it even okay for her to keep it in her mouth all day? Sunpai took a hold of Baiguan's arm. The guy said it was a futile attempt to snap his arm without using drugs. Let her tell him where Phoenix's hideout is right now. What good is protecting a coward like that? Who hides while her subordinates are being killed? Sun P yelled out that Ms. Phoenix is not a coward. The guy said that's right, she's just a drug addict. Suddenly, the children intervened in their conversation. They called Baiguan a bad guy. They seemed to be under the influence of the goodies too. Sun P said they were too late. She told them to run here if they heard a noise. The little girl shouted for Baiguan not to touch their mistress and came running over with a knife in her hands. The guy decided to put her to sleep for being so naughty. Good thing he knows the right pressure points. The other children decided to try their luck, but they didn't succeed either. Baiguan rubbed their necks. The guy asked Sangpai what she was going to do now. She replied that she had managed to put band-aids on herself. Looking at the children sleeping sweetly, he asked her, was it Phoenix who let her give candy to the children? The girl replied that anything could be. Then Baiguan raised the knife and said that it was her time to die. When Baiguan was fighting the henchman, she was like a former Phoenix watching him. Buddha asked her what she thought of the boy. After all, this child is the new Baiguan. The girl replied that the boy might look stronger than the old one, but why is he procrastinating? Can't he finish him off? He looks very dubious. Buddha said she's wrong. Well, with her drug-addled brain, that's not surprising. The boy could easily finish him off. But he prefers not to, he has his own style. The girl asked if he was just playing with him. With a man who used to be one of the UEs? The man said that this boy, when he first came to them, the first Baiguan killed everyone but him. He asked to see it again. All the many wounds this child is inflicting. Aren't they beautiful? They look like willow leaves. Who better to play Baiguan than this child? Now the girl finally realized that this guy was the real Baiguan. He asked her one last time, where is Phoenix now? Sunpai said he would kill her even if he told her. The guy said right, but he could give her a painless death, so let her open her mouth one last time. The first-generation Phoenix, now known as Sanpai, after losing her position as November Pavlonia, was left at the mercy of the new Phoenix with Buddha's permission. When new moons replace old moons, the replacement ceremony must end with the death of the previous generation. However, the new Phoenix didn't kill the old one, and yet Sanpai tried to poison her for some reason. Phoenix asked, did she think she wouldn't notice it? After all, the girl had tried many different poisons. Does Sangpai really hate her? The girl said she would never like her. Suddenly the Phoenix roared and began to tell that they all tried to kill her since she was weak, however she just wanted to survive. And as a result she is now the new moon. Everyone still continues to hate her and call her a drug bitch, but why? Of all people, Sangpai was the one who should have understood her. After all, the girl had gone through the same thing she had. Phoenix suggested to Sunpai, if she drinks this glass, the girl will have to love her. She drank all the poison to the bottom and asked, that's how she wanted it, did she manage it? Would the girl love her now? When the eternal selfish Sanpai saw Phoenix sobbing in her lap, she felt what love was for the first time. The girl asked Baiguan how could she betray the first person she fell in love with. The guy said if she had that answer, it was time to die. He'll ask the rest of the bastards. However, in her last breath, the girl managed to say that the Phoenix mistress will return here, but the children are hers, let her not kill her. Meanwhile, the basement club had its own atmosphere. Officer Jo Kyung he was trying to cheer up Captain Kim Ah-hyun. And Jung Sang-mook was shouting uselessly next to Dong Chul. The girl slapped the captain and yelled at her to get a grip on herself at last. But she stupidly sat there and didn't make a sound. Kwang he asked the guys to slap her. However, they have a whole other problem brewing right now. Jung Sang-mook is loaded with band-aids. The guys tried to remove his patches, but it didn't work. He was strong enough without them, and now he was even more powerful. Looking at the girls, Jung Sang-mook said that he would tear off all their limbs. But as soon as he got close to them, there was nothing left but words. Baigwon came to their aid. The guy ruthlessly stabbed his arm with his sharp knife. As long as he's here, he can't hurt them. And he can't tear anything off, not on his watch. The guy remembers inflicting a mortal wound on Dongchul. But how was he able to destroy the others? It looked like Baigwon had overestimated them a bit. Suddenly, Jung Sang-mook tried to strike from the back, but the guy managed to defend himself with his shield. Is that supposed to hurt? Baigwon ordered his squad to take care of those 3 children, while he quickly sorted things out here. Jung Sang-mook picked up 2 civilians and told the guy to try and shoot him if he wanted it so badly. Baigwon said okay and immediately shot him. 100% hit. He can calm down, the guy's not going to kill him. Everyone's already dead, so he'll have to keep at least him alive. He can consider himself lucky. The restless Jung Sang-mook decided not to take his words seriously. As a result, he was shot twice in the leg. Guy ordered his squad to report back to headquarters that they were heading back. That was enough for today. He thought it would be easy, but he miscalculated. Misjudged the situation. The guy had high hopes for them, but most of all, he believed in her, but she couldn't take it. Captain Kim Ah-hyun was completely broken. She's like a deity compared to those 3. Jo Kyung-hee offered to tie up Jung Sang-mook. Suddenly, Phoenix broke in on her sport bike and hit Captain Baigwon. When they saw the Phoenix lady, some were happy and some were not. Hwang Hee-jun remembered that it was that crazy woman. The girl ordered Jo Sang-mook to gather the others and follow her. Finding an escape route took longer than she expected. If she was punished and killed, it would be better. The man replied with sorrow in his eyes that unfortunately everyone was dead except him. The girl could only utter the word, "What?" Baigwon shouted that he was right, everyone else was already dead. Next in line is Crazy Phoenix. Hearing this, the girl pulled out her candy from her pocket, gave gas and headed towards the guy. She shouted that she would kill him herself. Baigwon said you shouldn't scare the hedgehog with your bearers. Phoenix used to call Baigwon brother. That night, she heard that he had been scolded because he disobeyed Mr. Buddha. Looking at her hand, she asked if he was okay. The guy asked her the same question. The girl replied that it was her mistake, she was too weak. Mr. Buddha told her that Baigwon was now in charge of them. She is very happy that he will be the one in charge. She's a little jealous that he's been promoted to EE and given a name. B-Gun sounds pretty cool. The girl asked him a question, how did he think she could make a name for herself? The guy replied that she was dreaming too much. She's heard that the relationship between the says is just awful. If she ever becomes her, she hopes they stay friends. Let him promise her. Phoenix candy turned out to be poison gas grenades. They're not explosive, but they don't make you see anything. His arm is numb, but he can still resist her. The girl asked how long he was going to run. After saying that, the guy really decided to run to the 2nd floor so he couldn't see that smoke. Phoenix wondered if the guy didn't believe she could follow him upstairs. She had very good driving skills. In this large corridor lay the bodies of her employees. It was a difficult obstacle, but the girl made it. The guy told her she was a pretty good driver. Suddenly he jumped on top of her and took her in a choke hold. Phoenix braked sharply and they fell. The girl asked, who was he? After all, if it wasn't for him, everything would have gone according to plan. Baigwon said he doesn't know when it started, but at some point, Phoenix started to hate him. As a child, she was always running after him and doing whatever he said. However, the guy is not someone she should blame. The girl is tired of listening to this nonsense, let him say who he is. Suddenly the guy told her he was Baigwon. He planned to kill her, but since she's in charge of the finances and has all the transactions, he was ordered to take her alive. She's been through so much because of that monk, she needs to testify against him and give them proof of his guilt. If Phoenix does all that, the guy will give her life. The girl laughed and asked, did Baigwon's brother really have a disciple? How come he was also a cop? The guy replied that she of all people should know that he never had any students. Becoming you, the girl began to follow him. Did she really think he wouldn't notice the tail while running errands? And only 2 people in this temple hated that damn monk, her and him. So why did Phoenix back off? The girl shouted for him to shut up. Baiguan's brother had died a long time ago. Buddha showed her his corpse and told her that she would be next if she didn't obey him. Baiguan said he knew it was hard to believe, but it was true. The girl replied that it seems like brother didn't tell his student something. She hates Baiguan much more than she hates Buddha. With those words, the girl put 2 more patches on her face, and a very interesting battle began between childhood friends or between a drug queen and a cop. Baiguan hit her exactly where the smoke grenades were, and everything around her went black in her eyes. For her, drugs are the best cure for headaches, toothaches, wounds, anything. Even when she's in a bad mood, they help her. It's the best high she's ever gotten in her life. Keep in mind that therapeutic drugs help a person recover, but briefly shift the concept of reality, which is highly addictive. The reality is always the same. They make things worse and life goes wrong. Baiguan told Phoenix that this is just a shame. Let her give up already and don't torture herself. Stop proving anything. She pounced on him with her patches, asking what he could possibly know about her in the first place. The guy took the patches and threw them away, saying he knew her very well, better than anyone. We need to finally calm down and turn ourselves into the police. He banged his fist on her stupid head and told her to stop embarrassing herself. Phoenix said she was in pain. Let him give her band-aids. Baiguan replied that he would if she promised to surrender. The girl says it's better if he kills her. She fears Buddha even more than death. Baiguan said that Sapai asked him for a favor. She begged him not to kill Phoenix. The girl replied that if the guy was really Baiguan's brother, he wouldn't have killed Sangpai. He would have gotten enough information out of her. Then the guy said that Sun Pi was using the kids. And judging from her reaction, he realized she didn't know anything. At least that's comforting. If she's just afraid of that monk, don't worry about it. Because he's gonna kill that freak soon. Phoenix shouted that it was impossible. After all, even Baiguan himself couldn't kill him. Did he really think he had the slightest chance? The guy said that his past body was broken due to a huge amount of training as a kid. It was the shortest way to become stronger, but he had to sacrifice his body. And what finally killed his body was the operation of his true religion. He was badly injured then, and he knows Phoenix is aware of that. This body, however, is different. He feels free in it. It has not been subjected to cruel mock training and is functioning properly. It can be considered perfect. He's insanely glad he got lucky. If the guy had gotten that idiot's body, I can't even imagine the consequences. When Baiguan gets used to his new body, there will be more of this bastard. He will definitely kill him. The girl wondered, is this guy really the same Baiguan brother she has known since childhood? Baiguan said she has 2 choices. Either surrender to the police or die here and now. Meanwhile, the group is already worried about Kwangsa because he's been gone for a long time. They are waiting for help, which should be here in half an hour. Lee Sung-hyun looked at Jo Sang-mook and asked the guys if they should give him first aid. He's lost a lot of blood. The man said that if they tried to touch him, they would not live. However, Officer Kyung-hee still decided to try. He asked her to get some band-aids out of his pocket and stick them on him. The girl said it was a load of crap. Why would she give drugs to an addict? Is he out of his mind? Or is he losing consciousness? Suddenly their conversation was interrupted by 2 jock brothers. They said that only scumbags use drugs. The brothers shouted to Jung Sang-mook, what had become of him? Why aren't his arms pumped up now, but some twigs? They sent him to kill one particular junkie. So why is this thing still alive? Then, the girl asked him, was he one of the supporters of the Black Lespedeza? Did he come for her life? She's got something more interesting than murder. Wouldn't a man this tough want to help her? Could he have fallen for a woman like that? One of the brothers said he always warned him about girls. The girls are trash who can't even swing properly. Jung Sang-mook asked why they were here. The brothers of Lespedeza replied, don't you get it? They came to kill that Phoenix thing. Where is it? And Phoenix can't even move on her own feet at this point. She's so shaken up by these patches that she has no strength left. The girl said that riding on his back reminded her of the past. Baiguan replied that it was better to keep quiet and prepare to surrender. Phoenix asked the boy if he remembered their first meeting. That day the Buddha came to him and told him that this child had gone through the entrance ceremony. This child will be in the same group with him from now on. Let him show her around and help her get used to it. They fought with sticks instead of swords and she always lost to him. The boy asked how she got through the ceremony if she was so weak. She said she just woke up crying on a pile of corpses. The girl was the only one who survived. Guan assures that she doesn't have enough skill to pass on. She asked for forgiveness and said she would do whatever was necessary. The main thing was not to tell Buddha the girl does not want to die. He wouldn't say anything to him. After going through the entrance ceremony, the boy vowed that he would keep his future partner alive. The girl offered to swear on her little fingers. Vows are made on pinkies, her mom told her. Phoenix knew he wouldn't keep his promise. How could the boy protect her and survive in such conditions? It was worth putting all the blame on someone who really deserved it, but she just started blaming the guy. Guan replied that the girl had misunderstood everything. He hadn't broken his promise. So why was she the only one who survived that day? Phoenix asked the guy, what was he talking about? One of the brothers checked Jung Sang-mook's muscles and said that he's completely gaunt. It looks really pathetic. Kwang He shouted to the boys to stop this beast. But the other brother took them down with one soccer kick. The guy warned her that she'd better not move. They were getting rid of a traitor here. The jock asked the man if he had decided to choose drugs before he died after all. Disappointing. Told him to put a band-aid on it and see where his choice leads. Jung Sang-mook's biggest fear is disappointing Madam Phoenix. And those were his last words in this life. It was that choice that led him straight to the dumpster. He will know that drugs are very bad for the body. Why does it smell good? Looks like they have some mouth-watering losers in front of them. The guy said it's their turn. One of the brothers said that men have a good body. May not try to hide it with clothes from head to toe. He asked Wang Hee-jun what sport he was doing and for how long. The guy replied that he had been boxing for more than 10 years. Kwang Hee shouted at him, why is he answering to this criminal? Is he completely stupid or what? The man applauded the guy and said he liked his body, and the second of the brothers looked at Captain Kim Ah-hyun and said that she also has a very trained body. Having chosen their victim, the Lesbian brothers went into action. Maybe they were fed firewood as children. Phoenix asked did he mean when he said she wasn't just the only survivor then. She thinks she was immune to the drug back then. Guan said that when they became partners and trained together, he realized something. It doesn't matter how much effort it takes to train. At the end of the day, you die at the hands of that bastard. The first generation Guan somehow sensed that the guy wanted to save the girl. He came to him and offered his help. The man knew what herbs were used to make the poison bowl. If the girl started taking small doses of poison and gradually increased them, she could develop immunity and survive. In exchange, the boy would do something for him. He agreed and thus was able to find out the name of the herbs for the poison. Guan secretly added herbs to her food. And after a few years, it still helped her to survive. So now they were able to meet here. The girl said she didn't believe it. Then he reminded her of the time she caught a cold and got a rash. It was her body building up immunity. Phoenix asked why he hadn't told her about it right away. The guy replied that if he had, she would have told someone while she was high. And in that case they'd both be dead by now. Plus the bastard thought she was innately immune to drugs. Just like a first-generation San-P, Phoenix. So he got her hooked on drugs to raise a new Phoenix. Guan, having thought of an escape plan, secretly headed to Huigux's place to escape together. But it looks like the guy was dead wrong. Phoenix was high and said she didn't need to go anywhere. She was in heaven. Drugs were the worst thing that had changed her. And every time he watched her change, he regretted his choice more and more. Guan wondered if he should have saved her then. Phoenix asked why he didn't run away alone. Suddenly, someone shouted very loudly. The girl assumed it was Jung Sang-mook. They need to walk faster and tell him to stop. But it was the Lesbian brothers who decided to test the muscle strength of our officers. There were two brothers. The older was born with a weak lower body and the younger with a weak upper body. These flaws were the brothers' main weakness. And that was the reason they were abandoned. The brothers were locked in a starvation room where physically handicapped children were sent. But they didn't want to die just because they were born so flawed. So they decided to defy fate. They trained, they killed, they survived as best they could. And little by little, they got stronger and stronger. A few months passed and the Buddha revealed the light to them. For the brothers were able to stay alive. After years of training, the older man had trained the initially weak lower body and had gotten legs similar to a Veep. and the younger one with the weak upper part acquired broad shoulders like the wings of a bird, and eventually they became black Lesbians. Their powerful and pumped-up bodies are admirable, but learning about their pasts is maddening. Seeing Phoenix, the brothers wondered what she was doing in the first place. Why was she being dragged by a cop? One of the brothers shouted that he had waited a long time for this day. The guy despises people who don't know what they are. Just because they're from you, now that Baiguan is dead, followed by Phoenix, there are only 3 left. January Crane, March Cherry Tree, August Hollow Mountain. Baiguan asked Jo Kyung-hee if she had called for reinforcements. The girl replied that they would arrive in 10 minutes. The guy thought he could hold out for 10 minutes, but suddenly he was shaken badly. Damn, did the drugs enter the body through Phoenix's blood and cause such a reaction? She cried and said she wasn't going anywhere if he didn't put her on his back. That kindness would ruin him someday. This mistake has let his guard down. This is very, very bad. I'm gonna have to give it my best shot. The jock yelled that he couldn't be dropped with such a weak attack. He tried to hit him with his large fists, but he failed. Baiguan said that he seemed to have gotten even bigger. But because of that, the speed was many times slower. The jock asked, "Do they know each other?" The guy yelled for Phoenix to go downstairs and go with the rest of the cops. He would follow them. Jo Kyung-hee should grab the kids and his comrades and get out of here. The girl said she'll do it, but unfortunately their exit was guarded by one of the brothers who said there was no way they could go any further. Baiguan needs to get things sorted out quickly. There's not much time at all. The jock says he's finally turned on the man. Phoenix watched their fight and was surprised that the guy was as fast as Baiguan's brother. She's always been nothing but a burden. Can't we stop being afraid and accept fate as it really is? The jock tells the guy he's slowing down. His body's not bad, but it's in terrible shape. It's drugged so you can't even eat it. In that case, they would have to say goodbye to him. But at the last moment, Phoenix managed to hold back his blow. The girl told the guy to forgive her. She can't give up and confess everything. But this time, she'll save him. Phoenix drugs have definite stages. Buddha's tears. From the previous Phoenix, Pi and San Pi, the improved version was called Guan, which means light. Pleasure and physical strength depend on the stage of the patch. Of course, the unpleasant consequences increase along with it. Roosters are usually the quickest to give up. The strongest patches were Guans. One patch was enough to make Sang Pai lose her mental clarity, but there was another stage. It was stronger than Guan that even the people above didn't know about. Noticing that her body was beginning to develop an immunity to Guan, Phoenix spent a lot of time and effort to create a stronger version of the drug, and the results of her labors were called Phoenix tears. The girl decided that she would take them when Guan no longer had any effect on her, or when there was an important moment in her life. One thing she knew for sure was that Phoenix's tears were carefully placed in a glass vessel. If she drank them, she would wake up in hell. It seems now the body of one of the brothers is no longer natural. And not so pure and virginal. Phoenix said something to Baiguan. The jock wondered what they were whispering about. And why did she get him dirty? The girl replied that judging by the lack of effect, that he was also a drug addict. The guy was shocked by what he heard. He called her a fool and said she would answer for her words. The guy is fine because he has a strong psyche. The jock punched her in the stomach, and in return got a big spit of poisonous blood right in her eyes. Next, the girl decided to take him in a choke hold. She yelled to the cops downstairs to get the hell out of here. Lee Seo-hyun wondered why she had decided to help them. Kyung-hee said that it didn't matter right now. She shouted to get Kyung-soo, the captain, and the children out of here immediately. However, the guard still stood just as securely. Suddenly the girl saw 2 red patches on the ground. And she had a great idea how to use them to her advantage. The brother from downstairs asked the other one if he needed help. He told him to get that stupid Phoenix off of him. He said he'd wait a little while. He had a couple cops to take down. But suddenly, the guy saw that the girl had put a band-aid on herself. He was surprised at the junkie cop. "Are you out of your mind?" However, Kyung-hee put it on to increase her speed and have time to snag another one on him. While the guy was screaming in anger, "What the hell is this nasty stuff?" and tried to unhook the band-aid. Officer Kyung-hee took Captain Ah-hyun and yelled to Lee Seon to take Kyung-soo and let Hwang Hee-jun take the kids. The guys are quickly assembled and now need to retreat quickly. Baiguan told Li Song that he was losing consciousness. Phoenix watched them leave and whispered to herself, "Goodbye, brother." The girl loosened her grip and the jock was able to strike her. But the pain on her eyes was just unbearable that she couldn't even get up. Meanwhile, the other brother had managed to get the band-aid off and was already thinking about finding that red-headed fool and killing her. However, Phoenix said he was in no hurry and threw smoke grenades at him. They have unfinished business. This is the end, so let them die together. 3 poor junkies. One late rainy night, Brother Baiguan came to Phoenix Girl's house to have a heart-to-heart talk. The boy said that today was the first time he had killed a man. The girl said she knew. She heard that he killed old Baiguan and officially became you. The boy cried and said it was very hard for him to breathe. He felt as if he had lost something. Baiguan asked, had she killed anyone before? The girl replied that she hadn't. Giving his little finger, the boy asked her to never change. From that day on, Brother Baiguan, now in Yu's position, had successfully carried out missions to kill assassins like himself, but he failed in his missions to kill civilians. And because of that, he was tortured by Lord Buddha. However, he was so good that Mr. Buddha did not want to kill him and constantly forgave him everything. On the other hand, when Phoenix became Yu to please Lord Buddha, she turned hundreds of people into drug addicts and dragged them into an endless pit of despair. It didn't bother her that she had broken her brother's promise. Hadn't he broken his own? However, she made a mistake because she drugged people and killed them in front of Brother Baiguan. At the same time and hating him, she was very wrong. Why has she changed so much? Is Baiguan's brother right that it's because of the drugs? Reincarnation. It is said that if a person has sinned in a past life, he is reborn as an insect or cattle to cleanse his sins. Even after that he is reborn as a human being. Brother Baiguan retained a little bit of humanity in him and ended up being reborn as a human. What will she become in the next life to atone for her sins? An insect or livestock, or will he go back to hell and relive this whole worthless life all over again? She doesn't want to. The brothers looked at the pathetic body and assumed the drugs had worn off. Or they had beaten her too much. The girl asked them for more. They were very surprised. She was asking for drugs even on the verge of death, wasn't she? The guy pulled a band-aid off the floor and told her to apologize for calling them dope fiends. And he'd put it on her as a parting gift. Phoenix asked him again, would he really give it to her? The guy replied that of course he would, she just needed to apologize. But suddenly, Baiguan's crying brother showed up in front of her eyes and told her not to change. And took her hand to swear on his little fingers. Phoenix called them drug addicts and told them not to be so straight. They're just like her. The girl decided to die sober, if she could wholeheartedly apologize to all the people whose lives she had ruined, even if Phoenix can't be reborn as Baiguan's brother. She's sorry, she apologizes. Insect or livestock, she doesn't care at all. She doesn't want to be human again. What the girl wants most of all is to never be born in this cruel place and to forget everything associated with it. The guy got his whole body dirty because of her. How do you get rid of it all now? Can't just soap and water get rid of it? He told his brother that he had to go after the others. His brother asked him if he was going to chase the cops in this condition. Their reinforcements would be here soon enough. The older man asked, did he really think he cared about that? Or was he scared? The boy replied that yes, he was a little scared. My brother said he had more to do with that redhead. But they don't know how many people they have on their payroll. The Lespediza brothers were dialed by Orchid on the comms and asked if they had sorted out Phoenix. They replied that they had just finished and were now getting out of there. Reinforcements are coming towards them. The number is not known. At the moment they are climbing the mountain. There's gasoline in the back of the club. You need to burn all the drugs and the building before they get here. After that, they have to escape out the back. He'll tell them where to go. These are Buddha's orders. Do it now. The most appropriate funeral for a junkie. You can watch 3 things forever: the water flowing, the paint drying, and the junkie's body burning. Operation Phoenix on top of the Paulonia has come to an end. For some it may have been successful, but for others it was not. The Buddha ordered the May Orchid to summon all those from January through October. It is time to begin the Buddhist ceremony. The Major General came to check on Baiguan. The guy asked him how long he had been in a coma. The man said 2 days. The next question immediately followed. Is Phoenix dead? Hong Jun answered that she was. The guy said that it looked like he should have rescued her and questioned her. The Major General replied that there was more news. As he lay here unconscious, some people felt that the use of live ammunition by police officers in Operation Phoenix on top of the Polonia was unnecessary. Nevertheless, politicians despise the correctness of the decision and public opinion is divided. The guy didn't really understand their position. Special Forces soldiers died during the operation, and they claim it was unnecessary? Do they even know what that means? Hong Jun said that politicians are always divided into two camps. If Camp A holds a circle, Camp B will hold a triangle. And of course the opposite is also true. If Camp B holds a circle, then in most cases Camp A will hold a triangle. Lastly, Chief Inspector Ki Ah-hyun as well as officers Hwang Hee-jun and Lee Sung-hyun have announced their intention to resign from the police force. The man said that these are the most important events of these days. They would discuss the rest later. They had somewhere to go together. The boy asked, where to? They need to go to the farewell ceremony for the fallen officers. Bai Guan said he's never been to a funeral. Then he should definitely wear his uniform. However, the guy said he had to go somewhere before that for sure. He'd be back soon. Meanwhile, a meeting had begun in Hwagusa. Cold-blooded and fearful people gathered to hear the next task from the Buddha. The January crane once again decided not to come to their meeting. Everyone wondered where he had disappeared to. February Bird and Plum Blossoms said it's not surprising at all. He's always on some kind of wavelength. March Sakura suggests that the man probably thinks they have nothing better to do. The girl is late for a lot of things. April Black Lespedeza told Sakura that she didn't need to pretend to be so businesslike, since she didn't have a man either. May Orchid offered his services to create a muzzleloader for the Black Lespedeza. June Peony assures everyone that dogs are not to be feared. They just want to play. July Lespedeza is still contemplating whether to call Sakura out on a date after the ceremony. August Hollow Mountain didn't come either. Where the hell is he going? Did he download the new Counter-Strike? September Chrysanthemum asked when Buddha is coming. He has a lot of things to do. He has to have time to count a wad of money. October Maple Leaf remembered Phoenix. Finally, that stupid junkie is gone. Buddha came and asked if everyone had gathered. The Maple Leaf replied that the January Crane and the August Hollow Mountain had not come. The man said the Hollow Mountain was currently clearing Phoenix's tracks. Raised a bunch of roosters, had to clip their wings. One of the girls asked where the January Crane was hanging around. The Buddha replied that it was out of the question. The man asked if everyone knew about Phoenix's death. Bird and Plum Blossom said that she had acted very foolishly. Sakura pointed out that drug addicts are all like that. She asked Buddha why they were gathered here. To choose a new November and December? The man replied that she was wrong. He called out to give an assignment to one of them. Major General Hongjun must be killed. September Chrysanthemum suggests sending some of the children that the monk himself trains to the place of one of the months. May Orchid agrees with him. I mean, it's not even the very top, it's some old Major General. Buddha revealed that last time he had sent Bai Guan to kill him. But despite the guy's skills he couldn't. The guy came back beaten and said that that cop was incredibly strong. Everyone was shocked at what they heard. Black Lespeed said there's no way that could happen. Bai Guan didn't try hard enough. Orchid thinks the guy wouldn't put himself through that. Buddha himself couldn't believe it either. He had to be reassured. As a result, he didn't kill him, but made sure that this cop couldn't track them anymore. But now he's back on their trail. This time they're gonna find out for sure if this man is strong or not. Who's gonna go out and kill this cop? On the day that Bai Guan almost said goodbye to his life, the last thing Phoenix told him was the coordinates, and from what she said, this place is around here somewhere. The boy wondered, what could it be? Could it be something underground? If he started digging, he would waste too much time. Suddenly, the same bird he had seen earlier at the hospital flew in. After the meeting ends, May Orchid and Buddha have a conversation. Orchid thinks that because of what happened to Phoenix, the public's attention is focused on the police. Will it be okay if they kill the Major General? The Buddha replied that it was even better. The people are a dumb herd. They are like a flame that flares up quickly and dies out just as quickly. It's better to make a lot of noise so that they forget everything immediately. Besides, he needs to be taken out anyway. Orchid asked, wondering if the Major General was such a big threat to them that even January was powerless. Buddha remembered that once a man in a Baiguan mask came to their temple. He was incredibly strong. His aura was the same as Baiguan's, even though it sounds strange. The Buddha has two assumptions about this. Baiguan trained someone from the police to avoid their surveillance. Or Ho-jun, a fighter so strong that he was able to create a squad to destroy Huiguksa. Orchid thinks that Baiguan has been closely watched throughout his life, so the first assumption sounds implausible. Since he spent most of his life in Huiguksa and Hong Jun's secret team was seen in the Phoenix case, the second assumption is much more convincing. Then if Hong Jun is so strong that he was able to beat up Baiguan by himself, would only 1 month be enough for them? To this question, the Buddha replied that Baiguan was in a critical condition after the failure of the true religion's mission. Then he had weakened considerably. 1 month should be enough. Orchid said okay. And asked the man, is he going to take a break? Buddha replied that he still had somewhere to visit, so he could go. Seeing the picture of Major General Hong Jun, Orchid thought to check this information. Is the man really that strong? Meanwhile, Baiguan was testing his neck for strength. He said that he would not read this morning's speech. The man yelled that no one else would do it but him. He wrote everything to him. You just need to read it. Baiguan replied that there was no need to decide for him. Next time, tell her to give me a heads up. Or this harmless massage will turn into something else. Hong Jun claims he's his boss. And the guy can't be so rude to him. Baiguan replied that he could, because he hated the very thought of sticking around in that hole to keep his hide safe. It's time for the police farewell ceremony. I now give the floor to Chief Officer Kim Kyung-soo. The guy thought someone else should have been standing in his place. He'd never read something like that. As Baiguan read the parting words written by Hong Jun, he felt his remorse and longing. The deaths of his co-workers did indeed sadden the man, but for him, reading the farewell speech brought not sadness but self-loathing. He feels disgusted, as if this has happened to him before. He feels sorry that nothing can be changed. Suddenly, the guy was approached by the commissioner, the National Police Agency, Kim Nako. The man asked if he was the one who worked on the first drug case in that nightclub, right? The guy replied that he was. Laughing, the commissioner said he would make a great policeman and wished him good luck. However, something still bothered him. To start working on such a large case, the boy should have reported to him first. The mission was a success after all. Should we take that as luck? Or because of so many deaths of young officers, is it likely to be a failure? This question caught the guy off guard. He looked back and saw parents mourning their children. Now Baiguan understands why he feels so lousy. There was no one when he was dying, no one regretted his death. It turns out that nothing had changed since he was a hit man. Suddenly a man came up to him and asked if he had been on that mission with his son. He said it was some kind of luck that someone got out of there alive. His son's dream was to be a great cop. The man claims that the boy is very much like his son. Holding out his hand, he wished to live a decent life and fulfill his dream. Baiguan shook his hand and said that it would be fulfilled. The farewell address is given to Monk Yo-Wa, the high priest of the cultural patrimony of Huiguksa country. The monk began by saying that in Buddhism, family is defined as those who are united in grace. These young souls received grace from the country in the form of salaries. They were head over heels immersed in their favorite profession, thus showing their loyalty to the Buddha. In that case, they're all one big family here. Mothers and fathers, don't let them be sad. After all these young policemen are their children too. Young cops, don't be afraid. All these parents are also their parents. All who are here are united. Back in the days when Baiguan was a hitman, he had seen the Buddha closer than anyone else. But today was the first time he had seen him outside of Huiguksa, reaching deep into other people's pain and tearing apart other people's feelings. Making people trust him. His speech sent shivers down Baiguan's spine. The monk asked for a moment of silence in honor of the dead. At this point, the guy made a decision that, after exposing this bastard, he would definitely kill him. The girl officer announced that this was their farewell to the dead and concluded the ceremony. Commissioner Kim Nako told Baiguan that it was a pleasure to meet him. He wished him success in his future endeavors. The man would have invited the guy to have dinner together, but things would not wait. He gave him a coin to buy himself a cup of coffee and told him to be careful. The boy told the Major General that he had found Phoenix's hideout. There was a hatch right under the rock. The man asked what was in it. Baiguan replied that he had found a diary written by Phoenix. There was information about the members of the organization. Hong Jun rejoiced, because this information might help them catch them. The guy said he didn't think so. There weren't many details. Just a small addition to what he already knew. The man understood everything and asked when he could start studying. Bai Guan replied that tomorrow. They have more important things to discuss than that. The guy said he'd have to move into his house in the future. Hong Jun replied that he was strongly against it. Bai Guan took out a scroll of gold from his pocket and asked, "What if I thought better of it?" The Major General was a little surprised at such beauty. He asked the boy where such wealth came from. Bai Guan replied that he found it in the Phoenix hideout. It looked like it was a bribe for someone. There were about 30 more like it. Hong Jun asked, "Is this turning out to be a bribe?" The guy replied that it was rent. The man still said he didn't agree. He doesn't live alone, he has a daughter. In that case, Bai Guan replied that he should move in with them as soon as possible. The guy claims that Hong Jun is still alive only because of his lies. As the head of the operation for the Phoenix case, he's unlikely to be alive. The Major General thought about it and realized that being around him now was dangerous. Bai Guan said that was it and his daughter was also in danger. Hong Jun agreed and would give him a room today. The guy said fine and asked if he was sure he didn't want to take the gold. He replied that he would take it. Bai Guan decided to check on Officer Kyung Hee. He told her that his comrades and Captain Ah Hyun had quit. The girl was surprised and said he could take it easy. She wouldn't quit even if she died. The boy had hoped quite the opposite. Kyung Hee says that no matter how well developed a person is, it's the mind that decides everything. Whoever is smarter will win. Bai Guan thought it was strange. He didn't think he'd hear her say that. The guy replied that intelligence is good, but you have to remember to train. She said okay and asked about the promotion. Did someone say something about it? Bai Guan was told that it was too early for him to be promoted by 2 ranks. It turns out that they refused, and the girl heard that everyone except Senior Officer Kim Ah Hyun and her will get promoted. Kyung Hee claims that in this case, they are now on equal footing. The guy slightly misunderstood her strange innuendo. She also has 3 hibiscus flowers now, just like him. Bai Guan replied that he had forgotten to say something. She was denied a promotion. She was shocked by what she heard. Pretty much claimed the guy was lying because he didn't like that she was so excited. He replied that he was right, he didn't like it, but she certainly wasn't promoted, all because the girl took drugs at work. She said she had no other choice. However, the guy said Kyung Hee was looking for them at the hospital. She will be disciplined, so don't let her forget she's still a slave. They'll talk more at practice, so don't let her get too comfortable. The guy figured he didn't have to worry about her now. All that was left was to beat up those 2 and change their minds. But then there's her, the officer who's lost in herself. She's gonna take a special approach, and it's gonna take a lot of work. Kim Ah Hyun asked the guy why he came. He replied that he let him open the door. They need to talk. The girl said she would call the police if he didn't leave. Bai Guan replied that there was no point in calling the police if they were both police officers. He started pulling the door handle harder and yelled for Ah Hyun to open the door. She told him to be careful or he'd break it and open it. Bai Guan asked, why did she decide to leave the police force and just lock herself away within these 4 walls? Why didn't she even attend the funeral of her own colleagues? The same Kim Ah Hyun, 29 years old. Now a junior inspector, but the best of the best. She's never known failure. Hong Jun said he didn't doubt her abilities, but this assignment was quite dangerous. Their target used to be one of the members of the national agency. And he also served in the Special Forces unit under Byung Janwook's command. The Major General asked her to continue her assigned task with Senior Officer Kim Kyung-soo, and that is the order of the Chief Inspector General. Kim Ah Hyun said that it turns out she completely disobeyed the order. It's all her fault for being overconfident. Bai Guan had a great idea on how to cheer her up. However, we'll have to use a little force. The boy took her to the cemetery where her comrades were buried. But they also met a family there. The girl was shocked, as she was inappropriately dressed for such a place. The guy replied that nobody cared. The same panic that came after the loss of her comrades has begun. She doesn't know what to say to them. How can she apologize? A man approached and asked if she was the officer in charge of the mission. She looked at him and said yes. He apologized and told her to remember their children. Let her make sure that this never happened again. And Hyung couldn't help but cry and fell on her knees in front of them. She said she was sorry and it was all her fault. So now we're down to 2 morons. The guy said they had very little time, so they'd have to talk in 3 sentences. The guys interjected, how can they fit into 3 sentences? Bai Guan said that he can't talk seriously with men. Huang Hejun let him start. When he was kickboxing, he had a friend that the guy could never beat. But he became a criminal. So Hejun decided to become a policeman to catch him. Lee Sung-hyun was bullied at school for being a coward. So he decided to take up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to become a cop and catch bad guys. Bai Guan shouted that enough was enough and asked them a question. Why did they leave the police force if they both have clear goals? Sung-hyun answered him that because he had seen for himself that they couldn't do anything, that they were useless and couldn't help. Looking at them, the guy thought that they were humiliating themselves, the most disgusting type of people. At least Kim Ah-hyun had pride. He said if they decided to quit again, he'd beat the shit out of them. Now shut up and go to work. Thus Kim Ah-hyun, Huang Hejun, and Lee Sung-hyun are back in action and starting fresh. Huang Hejun and Lee Sung-hoon were promoted to chief inspectors. Looks like sometimes it's good to be dumb instead of smart. To address their weaknesses, they embarked on personal training. Some needed to develop their minds and some needed to develop their muscles. Kim Ah-hyun returned and immediately met with a former member of Special Forces Unit 22. Leaving his squad to perish, it was unthinkable. He said that if it wasn't for Chief Inspector Hong Jun's request, he would have never met her. The man said that bastard Dongchul was still alive. But what he's most curious about is why she came. Meanwhile, Bai Guan provided all the information to the Major General that Phoenix had written. The March Sakura, April Black Lespediza, and July Lespediza look like this. Phoenix had the worst relationship with them. April and July are brothers of Lespediza. 3 months ago Hwaguksa paid them, but now they don't get a penny. March, September, and October don't get paid either. The presumed reason for this is that they are doing business. But it is not yet known what kind of business it is. Between assignments, they work out. We couldn't track them, but judging by their muscles, they probably visit some kind of fitness center. They call themselves straight, but no doubt take steroids. At least the younger brother is. Hong Jun said the kid brought good information. He'll look into what businesses opened 3 months ago. He'll find out which nearby businesses are selling steroids. Next March Sakura. She doesn't get money from Hwaguksa either. On the contrary, the girl gives it to the organization, first paying her direct superior Phoenix, Maple Leaf, and then Sakura. Not too long ago, Sakura overtook Phoenix, much to her dismay. Looking at the report, the man wondered, why are there celebrities pictured on them? The guy asked how he knew them. He replied that it would be strange if he didn't know them. Bai Guan said that one of them might be that Sakura. And it's indicated in Phoenix's investigation. The guy doesn't know if it's true or not, but if you read further, you'll realize that he and Phoenix were in frequent contact. She was getting drugs from her and asking her to create a new drug. It doesn't look like she was doing it for herself. A month ago, there was a drug accident in the entertainment business that Phoenix had given to Sakura. Based on all this, we can understand that Sakura works in the entertainment industry and she's some kind of star. But what's all this fucking monk for? The Major General asked. The guy has a hunch. This happened when he became the second Bai Guan. The monk asked him what he thought was the most important thing in human life. Bai Guan immediately replied that he didn't know. The man said it was fear. People live to fight fear. To cope with the fear of hunger, people go to work. To cope with the fear of loneliness, they socialize with others. But there are things that man cannot overcome. Before the fear of death, everyone turns to God. Who knows, in this troubled world, tormented by fear. For people who have lost their last hope, for people who are afraid of death, he can be that God. And December Bai Guan, along with other months, will become a fear for this society. That's what that monk said. That's what this bastard is aiming for. The Major General was surprised that his goal was to become God. He asked Bai Guan why the months are so devoted to the Buddha. The fellow replied that most months have absolute trust in the Buddha, because from childhood he raised them to be killers, and they have experienced what hell is and what death is. However, when they became months old, the reward was very sweet to them. It was as if God himself had bestowed it. The guy speaks from experience. Months consider Buddha to be God. We can already consider that he has already achieved half of his goal. Hong Jun said that the guy was able to overcome that temptation, right? He replied that he had made a deal, but what kind of deal it was didn't matter at all. In front of him sits proof of what happens when you no longer show that devotion. He never protested openly, but 5 years ago one of the month-olds showed up and rioted. Baiguan asked the man if he had heard of a real religion. He replied that yes, cultists. The religious leader of this cult was the first maple leaf. Most likely, the place of the leader is now occupied by the second maple leaf. Having formed a real religion, the first maple leaf wanted to oppose the 12 months. She raised 12 leaders, followers, to oppose Hwaguxa. It was a smart move, because that's when the 12 signs of the zodiac appeared. But a few months later they were defeated. The first maple leaf gathered the survivors and fled to the Philippines. But then they were in for a surprise. The girl asked the guy, why him? Didn't he also have so many grievances against this old man? Baiguan replied that the monk had promised him that if he managed the task, he would give him a human life. Maple Leaf smiled and told him to hear her prediction. He would never be able to live as a human being. That day the boy killed her. Hong Jun was surprised. After all, before this, the guy had said that the leader's place was now occupied by the second Maple Leaf. Didn't he kill him? Baiguan himself doesn't know which is first and which is second. Maybe the Maple Leaf is more than one person? The second Maple Leaf always seemed very strange to him. In group assignments, different people came each time. It all seemed very suspicious to him. Even though they were different in age, gender, and voice, their actions, character, and manner of speech remained unchanged. It was as if they were the same person. The guy said let him continue the investigation. He thinks Sakura will be the next target. All that's left is to figure out who she is. Baiguan wondered why a person with such a high position was riding around in such a wreck. He suggested that he buy a new one. Hong Jun replied that his wife bought this car. She died 3 years ago, 15 years ago, on his birthday. The guy assumed his wife didn't really like him. After all, she had plenty of time to buy a new one. Hong Jun warned that if he said one more word, he'd be out of here. Baiguan asked, how did she die? Was it because of an illness? The man replied that she was also a policeman. She was accidentally killed by a lunatic. The guy said he was sorry. The lunatic was a proponent of a real religion. He assumed something was wrong, but it turns out she was related to Hwaguxa. Baiguan asked, so is that why he didn't want to catch the Sakura first? If he wants to, they can start with the Maple Leaf. The Major General replied that there was no need for that. They know much less about him than they do about the Sakura. He decided to change the subject slightly. Maybe because both parents work in the police force, his daughter will want to follow in their footsteps. The guy thinks it will be easier for her, since her father is a chief inspector. However, the man himself does not want her to become a police officer. He asked the guy to try to talk to her about it since they are all living together now. But don't let him say he asked him to do it. Baiguan asked if it was okay to hit her. The man realized that he was still too far away from normal human life. His social skills were at their lowest level. When we got to his house, the guy again said he was living in a piece of junk. He asked how old the door was. Hong Jun asked him not to communicate with him so boldly in front of his daughter. He agreed, but he doesn't make any promises. Walking into the house, the father asked if she had just gotten back. The girl replied that she had just returned from the library. She asked, so is this the person who will be living with them? The man replied that she might be uncomfortable, but that she would have to be patient for a while. Just don't let her get close to him. The girl said hello and said she was pleased to meet such an uncle. Looking at their family picture, the guy said that the girl looks like her mother. Hong Jun replied that he's still getting used and accustomed to regular human life. He has no idea what social skills are. The man has prepared a room for him on the 2nd floor. Let him go upstairs and go to bed, and he himself went to bed already. The girl said good night to her father. The guy wanted to go to his room, but the girl stopped him and asked him, could she come to his room to ask him a question? The question was, what did Baiguan do to become a police officer? The girl also really wants to be a police officer. The guy replied that after he died, he was reborn and became a policeman. She asked if he had worked so hard that he wanted to die. Suddenly, Baiguan wondered, he didn't know much about the previous owner of this body after all. His parents were criminals and abandoned him when he was a child. He knows nothing about him except that he grew up in an orphanage. But knowing more didn't change anything. The guy got angry and said he didn't need to ask him about the police. Her father asked him to stop her and also asked him not to say anything. The girl replied that her father pissed her off. It's her life, why does he keep meddling in her affairs? Baiguan asked her to go to practice together tomorrow. It's a day off anyway. The girl was very happy and thanked her uncle. He decided to show her hell and she would give up the idea herself. The guys were very surprised to see a girl at practice. The guy said to let them get to know each other. This special guest will be practicing with them today. Jo Kyung-hee asked her if she was still in high school. Did that crazy man kidnap her? The girl remembered that she forgot to introduce herself. Her name is Hongyeon. And she's a high school student. She wants to be a police officer and be as cool as them. That's why she brazenly joined them today. Kyung-hee asked, what does she even know about people? If not, the girl will teach her everything. Hongyeon replied that she doesn't need to since she's excellent at everything. Baiguan said to finish talking and start practicing. They didn't just come here for nothing, right? Suddenly, the guy was attacked by Hee-jun. However, he didn't succeed at anything but taking an elbow strike to the chest. Sung-hyun tried to knock Baiguan down, but only succeeded in saying hello to the birds. The girl asked the guy why they started fighting so suddenly. He replied that they were in training. Baiguan said that it's pretty well thought out. It seems like it wasn't their idea, but rather Kyung-hee's. He approached her and asked her why she was standing on the sidelines just watching. The girl replied that her muscles were sore after the gym. He stroked her little head and said stop making plans for the guys. Let him start attacking with everyone together. Now it was Hongyeon's turn. The guy told her to attack. The girl was surprised and asked, does she have to fight too? He replied that she didn't come to the training for nothing. The guy's not gonna hurt her. Let her not be afraid and attack boldly. It's just training, but if he doesn't want to hit first, he'll hit first. Baiguan tested her liver strength. He wanted to scare her with that punch and said he was going to become a police officer and hit her even harder. It's amazing, though, that the girl didn't pass out after being hit in the liver. She seems fine. He announced that Hwang Hee-jun will now fight Lee Sung-hyun and Jo Kyung-hee will fight Hong Young. Let them get up and start the practice fight. Kyung-hee warned her not to relax. She won't give in just because the girl is a schoolgirl. Suddenly, Baiguan remembered and said that she was the daughter of the chief inspector. Upon hearing this, Officer Kyung-hee fell to the ground and begged for mercy. And said that the girl was very strong. Back home, Hongyeon told the guy that she was very tired. He replied that it wasn't bad for the first time. She looked chipper during training. She'll make a good cop. Hong Jun was already waiting for them at home. He asked why they had come back together. The girl replied that it was just a coincidence. The father told his daughter not to go anywhere with him anymore. He is a bad person. Baiguan asked, can she at least not say that in front of him? Doesn't he have any social skills? The girl said he wasn't bad, he was cool. The man yelled at Baiguan to get the hell out of here. He claims he didn't do anything. Suddenly the guy felt something. As if there was someone behind the door watching them. Going outside, Baiguan shouted out that he was waiting for the brothers of Lespediza. He asked them had the maple leaf sent them? Did they know him? Others don't send so many people in their place. However, this is a good thing. Hong Ju will like it. They will be the clue that will help catch the maple leaf. B. Guang's night practice has begun. Bodies flew back and forth, but there were no seriously injured. The guy realized that these guys are not professional killers. They're not good at holding a knife. Suddenly these guys started screaming that they were in a lot of pain. They didn't realize where they were. The guy rounded them up and tied them up. He called Hong Jun and said that these morons didn't remember anything. That's amazing, the man replied. One of them yelled that he would sue them if they didn't let them go. Hong Jun said they were the ones who attacked first. Who will be sued then? He still claims he doesn't remember anything. Baiguan went through their things and found some documents. Some have family photos. He doesn't think they're fake, they're ordinary people. Hong Jun said the same thing happened to his wife. The guy assumes the maple leaf did it. Hypnosis begins by looking directly at the maple leaf. After wiggling it becomes calmer on the soul. All that suffering and fear received in reality disappears and there is peace on the soul. He says, "Do you admire him who has given you peace and deliverance from suffering? As soon as the maple leaf stops, you need to slowly take your eyes off of it." Next thing you know, the guy's only asking one question. Who is he? And the patient has to answer immediately that he is a beautiful maple leaf who has put her life out of its misery. He's a maple leaf. However, if the guy sees even the slightest fear in his eyes, he immediately realizes that hypnosis has not worked. And if the patient has already seen it, they have to get rid of it in the quickest way possible. Maple Leaf said that this wasn't the first failure recently, though this girl had been good at hypnosis for a long time. He was sorry that Phoenix had died. She was much easier to hypnotize people with pills. Red Leaf suggests that after Phoenix, there must have been some drugs left behind. The guy could use them on this girl since he liked her. He replied that he'd better save them until the new Phoenix showed up. Yellow Leaf asked if there had been too many failures lately. 20 people died this week alone. That's enough for the fall leaves, isn't it? The Maple Leaf replied that he had already said that the more leaves the prettier it looked. No need to be jealous. Then the girl told the guy not to pick on them, even if the hypnosis didn't fully work. Does he even know how hard it is to find people? In response, the guy asked, does she know that a person can't be fixed, it can only be changed? And doing it through your fingers will lead to problems. It is better to change it completely for a new thing, as in their case. He asked the girls what had become of the boys who had been sent to the chief inspector. Yellow Leaf replied that they had failed. It was very strange, even though they were ordinary people with no training, but how could they stop 5 or 6 armed men? We should definitely report to Buddha. Orchid reported to the monk that a report had come from the maple tree. He said that Hong Jun was very capable, as expected. A man decided to ask the Buddha. If his task is successfully completed, will his status among the months increase? If so, the maple leaf status will rise, and it will start showing off. What if the same thing happens to it that happened to the first maple leaf? The twins wanted to take on this task. Wasn't it better to trust them? They certainly don't need power, they're only interested in their own bodies. The Buddha replied that he had never said that only the maple leaf would get the task. For more months will participate in this assignment, including the 10th month of maple leaf. Which ones exactly? Orchid mentioned that last time Monk had said that one of the months would be enough. He replied that there had been a change of plans. But isn't 4 months a long time? The Buddha replied that it was a justifiable investment. A very interesting plan came into his mind. Commissioner Kim Nako has urgently summoned Major General Hong Jun to tell him an important piece of news. He wants the man to take responsibility for destroying the Huiguk sect. The necessary information will be provided. Kim Nako found out that he had been attacked again. He checked with his sources and realized that that sect called True Religion was involved, just like in the case of his wife. Those words did not refer to the followers of this sect who pretend to be true believers. The man asked if he was familiar with the method of knowing the Tao. Judging from the materials, this is the place where they spread their teachings. It's probably connected to the girl's disappearance. Have him investigate and check it out. The commissioner believes Hong Jun can handle it. Bai Guan argues that it's necessary to take up the case immediately. The man said he was still thinking. The guy replied that there was nothing to think about. They killed his wife and attacked. Besides, now they have information. Isn't that reason enough to grab a maple leaf? Hong Jun thinks that emotions can't be involved in the assignment, and the information is still unverified. It's better to find out more about Sakura and the Lespedeza brothers. However, Bai Guan doesn't like to sit idle, and yet the name has so many clues. The guy gathered his squad and gave them a task for today. It was necessary to catch the culprit. Quan He asked what kind of cultists are these? He replied that they call themselves a real religion. They spread their teachings in the areas that are designated in the materials. We need to find someone and bait them. The girl says there are too many of these sects. How will they find exactly the real religion? Sung-hyun thinks they should take the bait right away. They negotiate amongst themselves so there are no clashes in the same neighborhoods. He knows about them because they tried to recruit him many times. Probably looks like a sucker. There's a subway station and a busy street nearby. The guy suggests that they should go there. Jun suggests that Sung-hyun should be the bait since he's been caught so often. Kwang He says he's a total retard. Can't he see that they mostly target pretty girls? Bai Guan wondered, who did anyone he knew have girls like that? Jun suggested dressing Sung Hyun in women's clothes. The guy remembered that there was the daughter of Chief Hong Jun. She could be the perfect bait. Kwang Hee tried her best to tell the guys that she could be the bait, but they just ignored her. The girl changed into civilian clothes and came to them. The guys were shocked by her appearance. Seo Hyun asked her how she was able to enlarge her hair. The girl replied that it was false hair. Baigwon said it's not bad, but only if he keeps quiet. And that's not a compliment at all. Sung Hyun warned her that she needed to be alone. They lose their minds when they see single girls. These are the first people I saw. They told Kyung Hee that she made a very good impression. Now the girl realized that there were a lot of charlatans lately. The guy said don't let him think anything bad, they are not some cult, they're just studying religion. They also think the girl will be very successful at work. Would she mind talking a little? Kyung Hee immediately agreed to the idea. So far, everything is going exactly as Sung Hyun described. If she meets them and starts listening, they will suggest going to a cafe or diner. The first time you should go together, then they'll say they don't have any money and ask her to pay. She will have to pay for them by all means. Then they'll start to think the girl's a total sucker. And then they'll start their conversation, a whole half an hour of nonsense. And you have to listen carefully and completely agree. Next, they will want to take her to their lair, supposedly to pray. Immediately you must accept the choice and agree. Kwang Hee thought that they had fallen for the bait quite easily. But their lair is quite far away. They said they had already reached it. When Kwang Hee went inside, she saw all the hell that it was better to never see. The door closed and the good people began to attack her. However, the girl is not practicing for nothing and easily put them to sleep. Kyung Hee asked, "Are they the ones who are trading them?" Greenleaf replied that it is the process of reconnecting with God. The girl pulled out a stun gun and was ready to shoot. But the Greenleaf disarmed her with her cloak. She yelled, "Since she's a cop, she'll have to die." However, Bai Guanshu doesn't think so. The guy said it seems these charlatans are dragging people in instead of honing their skills. Do they even know what dogma and morality are? Greenleaf replied that you can't hit women, especially not in the face. Bai Guan said that means they realize that they are violating all moral principles. The guy decided to thank her for such knowledge. He feels like his senses have sharpened since Phoenix's surgery. He's gotten used to this body. At this rate, the guy would quickly be able to get back into good shape. Kwang Hee was shocked by what she saw. Bai Guan thought, can't the girl stun even one of them? She definitely needs to practice more. He told her to call for reinforcements to get them out of here. Kwang Hee replied that she was very scared and couldn't move, so he told her to get her up. The girl tried hard and put 2 down, so good for her. The guy took her in his arms and said that she had reached great heights. Kwang Hee asked what is he doing? Bai Guan replied that she asked him to lift her up. But the girl didn't ask him to lift her up like that. Hong Jun says that he's already asked the guy multiple times that there's no need for amateurish behavior. You could have at least warned him, he would have been prepared. Bai Guan replied that they had caught everyone. If he had told him, he wouldn't have let him in. The Major General said that he would go anyway, no matter how much he was forbidden. The guy replied that that was the point. Next time he would try to warn him. He asked the man if he would take up the case with the real religion. Hong Jun replied that he would have to see the results of the interrogation and then decide whether the department would personally handle it. Bai Guan claims that no one there knows how to work. Did he forget how they lost the Phoenix drugs? This time, he'll handle it on his own. Hong Jun said that the order from the superiors had already been signed. All the more reason to trust them. This time, it was the head of the department himself, Kim Nako, 54, Chief of Police. Started as a simple officer and rose to police chief, a living legend among the police. The police chief's tenure is only 2 years, but the actions that made him a legend are the hollow work of his successors, and his enormous potential in politics has shown that it's best to keep him in office, so they changed the law as an exception. And now he is in his 3rd term as police chief. For the last 5 years he had held the position and gathered around him the most capable people from different cities. He also made it so that all power was concentrated in the main police department. However, no one can say anything against his position. Since his position in criminal organizations is categorical, so he can be trusted, he has a lot of capable guys. The boy asked, is that why his special unit was in such a state? The man replied that they all had good potential, he was thinking about the future, that's why he bet on them, it turned out to be for nothing. Bai Guang asked that if this case is handled by the department head himself, who has a lot of power, then why does he feel that way about it? Hong Jun replied that he was very concerned about it. Since that person is too capable, just like the guy, judging from the fact that Bai Guan has information about Huigux, one can understand where such achievements come from. But what Kim Nako accomplished during his rise from ordinary officer to chief of department is impossible to comprehend. The guy speculated that maybe he was one of those legendary cops that show up once every 100 years. Hong Jun asked, then why would such a person not know about who was behind Huigux's affairs? He also stopped the investigation. That's just too contradictory. When the daughter returned home, she asked her father why they were coming so late. He replied that there was a lot of work to do. The man immediately said he was going to bed. His favorite daughter said good night to him. Bai Guan asked what she was smiling like that about. The girl replied that she was just happy that the guy was living with them. And to be honest, even before I moved here, my dad told me a lot of things about him. After her mother died, her father lost interest in everything, but when he started talking about him she saw a spark in his eyes. My father said that before she died, my mother asked for something. And that was to finish the job. All this time, the man couldn't fulfill the promise, but now, he thinks there's a chance. The girl doesn't know what the assignment is, but she's glad that her father has a determined desire to accomplish something. Bai Guan replied that she didn't need to worry. He would definitely succeed in this endeavor. Hong Yan said let him promise her that he will do exactly that. That she'll help him do it. She asked why he held out his pinky finger. The guy said isn't that how promises are made? The girl smiled and said he turned out to be so cute. No one had ever called him that before. The next day, Hong Jun was summoned by Police Chief Kim Nako. He was told that the interrogation was over. They seemed to be connected to a real religion. We managed to find out everything, the location, the organization, the way the crime was committed. The man was surprised, so quickly. The supervisor asked if he would now take over the case or not. There's no time at all. The real religion is a cult that was created 10 years ago by one girl who proclaimed herself a saint. After that, religion began to spread rapidly and became a major organization that could no longer be ignored. However, after 5 years it suddenly disintegrated. The saint, along with the remaining leaders, took her parishioners and left for the Philippines, where they were all found dead. Police have concluded that the cause of death is due to internal disagreements between the leaders and the saint. Thus this sect disintegrated, but it was only written on papers, but in reality, there was only one survivor from the congregation. No one knows how he managed to stay alive. He seems to have gathered the remnants of the defeated congregation and is preaching this religion again. This second leader, likely now just under 30 years old, is kidnapping people off the streets, keeps them imprisoned and tortures them to break their psyche, and then makes these exhausted and weakened people dependent on him. He uses hypnosis to make them his puppets. He uses men as soldiers and makes the women he likes his assistants, depending on the degree of psychological processing. Green leaf, Nagyop, yellow leaf, Hwangyop, red leaf, Chogyop and black leaf, Haigyop. On the back of their necks they have tattoos of one of the leaf colors. Just pervy, isn't he? They say he built a palace on a deserted island and lives there. If Hong Jun takes the job, the man will tell him the exact coordinates. The boss saw the doubt in his eyes. This is a chance to avenge his wife, so why delay? Hong Jun asked, doesn't he think it's like a trap disguised as an enticing temptation? Meanwhile, the maple leaf has been told that the green leaf has been caught. He is sorry, for he has not done everything for her yet. Soon they'll get here too. He asked the guys if they were in anticipation. Black Lespediza replied, he's only excited when he's working with iron. This seemed surprising to him, for it is a maple leaf task as bait, and he took it up gladly. If everything ended well, the monk promised a generous reward. Why not take that chance? August Hollow Mountain asked, is he really only doing the mission for the reward? The one replied, can't we? He should be the one to wonder why they suddenly decided to unite. Black Lespediza replied that they were not alone in the task. The Hollow Mountain thought that he and Sakura were the only ones on the mission. Maple Leaf said he never thought they would be doing the same assignment with him. Jock replied that if it didn't work out, it would affect their business, too. He has no preconceived notions about him. Except that he likes to have fun with women. It just seemed to him that they were bound to get a good result. Hollow Mountain said the monk ordered him to do it, so he's doing it. And eagerly waiting for this island to turn bloody like the beautiful autumn leaves. Hong Jun says it's definitely a trap. He has been investigated for drug trafficking before. He had devoted a lot of time to it, but now it was over too quickly. It's entirely possible they're lying. The supervisor asked if he doubted his ability. The man replied that he did not doubt his abilities, but a man named Kim Nako. Upon hearing this, he laughed at the whole management and said that Hong Jun is awesome. He stays cool even in a case that involves family. That's excellent, Kim Nako said. If he thinks it's a trap, he doesn't have to worry. Even if it is, it will help him deal with it. Commander Boong Janwook's special unit, he'll ask them to help. Does he trust him a little now? Hong Jun asked if he could make one motion. The commissioner replied that of course yes. If this assignment is completed successfully, have him authorized to conduct an inquest into the case of Huiguk's Lee Dio. Kim Naka replied that Hong Jun is really an amazing person. No matter what, he thinks he's the only one who can take his place. The man apologized and said he could not accept his offer. The Major General wondered, why not? Couldn't they hold an inquest, all because he's the first month of 12? There was supposed to be a drum roll, but they went to bed. And so he's the January crane. When Hong Jun and his wife began to investigate the Huiguksa clan's case, he became an observer. However, after what happened to his wife, he ordered the investigation to stop and the man immediately dropped the case. At that moment, the commissioner thought there was nothing special about him. I guess no one in management could believe it. But after Operation Phoenix, he changed his mind. It seemed to him that his one warning should be enough for Hong Jun to cancel the operation. But it was all just an act. The man was secretly preparing his plan. He might not have been able to follow through, but he had acted brilliantly, which was why he wanted to see him again. Hong Jun asked what he was trying to accomplish. The commissioner asked, does he love this organization? For example, he loves it with all his heart. But she is very different now from how he envisioned her at the beginning of his service. It seemed to him that this place would never collapse, because it was the place where evil was judged. In reality, it's very dependent on public opinion. And it's in the business of wiping the ass of other organizations. Then, however, he met him. A masked man who said that their paths with him might be different, but the goal was the same. That day he offered to join him. And he said he would fulfill all his wishes. It's been about 30 years now. Time runs inexorably fast, doesn't it? And he has been the head of the department for 5 years now. A lot has changed in the organization. During this time, their investigative powers and rights have grown stronger, their budgets have grown, and there is more opportunity to speak out. Has he seen any Hong Jun who does as much for the organization as he does? The man said it was not for the sake of the organization, but for his own sake. The commissioner replied that he was not wrong, because he was the core of the organization. He only had 1 year left to serve. He could have stayed longer, but it was time for him to think about bigger things too. That's why he thought of him as his successor. After all, Hong Jun doesn't give up his beliefs and has an honest character. He likes him a lot and sees him as a young man. The man asked, does he find it hard to control him? Is that why he wants to put him in this official position, so it's easy to control him? There is no way he would be a corrupt cop like Kim Nako. He prefers loyalty to his principles and honesty. The commissioner replied that no matter how much he tried to exterminate evil, it would never go away. If it keeps showing up, there are two choices. An evil that can't be negotiated with and an evil that can be negotiated with. And he just chose the latter. If it were him, Hong Jun would have chosen the same thing, wasn't he right? The man simply turned around and started walking towards the exit. The commissioner said he could answer his suggestion next time. But was he not curious about his purpose? He wants peace to come to their country, bringing prosperity and equality for all citizens. He also told Hong Jun to pick up the folder with the information about the maple tree. She's reliable, can swear to it if need be. A man has a duty to avenge his wife. The name of the operation is cleaning up fallen leaves. He rates it highly, so no need to bury yourself. I'm sure he'll do a top-notch job. Hong Jun tried to remain calm in front of January Crane, but his mind is in a veritable chaos. Many questions arose, but the conclusion was much simpler. He's helpless. What can he do? When he got home, Bai Guan saw that the Major General was drowning himself in alcohol. He asked, What if someone had tried to kill him? He should have gone home right away. He was drinking too. The man replied that he had met the January crane today. He turned out to be the head of the department. The boy wondered if it was the bald one. Let him tell more details, but let him come to his senses first. Hong Jun replied that the operation to destroy Huigux was cancelled. It was clear from the beginning that they weren't going to win this battle. They have everything in their hands. Bai Guan said he had completely frozen his brain. It was a good thing he saw the folder in his hand. The guys greeted their boss nicely, telling him good morning. He asked them in a frenzy what they were doing here. They replied that Kungsa had asked them to stay here and guard him for now. He was very worried that the man had taken so long to wake up. Hong Jun didn't know what they were talking about. Where is Kim Kyung-soo? The guys said they didn't know. He told them that he had to go somewhere. Just asked me to tell you that if everything is in their hands, now is a great chance to grab it. Senior Officer Kim Kyung-soo. The name of the operation is cleaning up the fallen leaves, the beginning of the solo outing. Suddenly Jo Kwang-hee stopped the guy by shouting that she wanted to go with him. She was definitely someone he didn't expect to see. How did she know about this place? The girl replied that when she was the decoy, Bai Guan downloaded an app to keep an eye on the location. She checked and his location appeared there. What a setup, the guy replied. Suddenly his phone rang. Hong Jun's boss is calling. Bai Guan asked what he wanted. The man asked where he was. He replied that he was going to the island. But how would he get back? He bought a used boat from a fisherman for bullion. Hong Jun said he would send backup. Let him be careful. Bai Guan replied that he was glad to hear his normal voice. Good for him for pulling himself together. He hung up the phone and said goodbye to Kwang-hee. The girl yelled for Bai Guan to take her with him. These fanatics have a thing for pretty girls. She could be the bait again. Especially with her clothes and makeup on. He said to go home and rest. Kwang-hee asked why he gave a separate assignment to Hee-jun and Sun Hyun. The guy replied that they were stronger than her, especially since they have some experience, and she has a long way to go before them. The girl said that the more tasks she did, the more experience she gained. Where else would she gain experience? Bai Guan asked, does she want to go on a mission to get a promotion? Kyung-hee said no, she's a team member too. She's not a team member, she's a slave. She feels like an outcast. However, who knows, it might work out well? And he'll praise her again, just like last time. Honestly, that time the guy praised, she really liked it. It's great that he has that attitude. Bai Guan replied that this task was too dangerous and knocked her out with his amazing technique. Now we can go on our course in peace. Let him sleep and think about his behavior. The commissioner's secretary came in to say that Major General Hong Jun had asked her to send him Officer Boon Janwook. The man replied to poison him at once. He knew there was a reason he'd talked him into it for so long. He had to react somehow. Crane informed the orchid that the bait worked. He will be on site in 3 or 4 hours. The male said great, we'll let the maple leaf know. It's finally started. The maple leafs are on the front lines with Black Lespedeza and Hollow Mountain. Against Hong Jun's team and Boon Janwook's special team. This is going to be very interesting. When January Crane proposed to Buddha, he didn't care so much who won. If Maple Leaf won, then his plan would work. And he could gain even more trust from the monk. If Hong Jun wins, his position as chief of police will be even stronger. In this mission, he only hopes to see a lot of blood spilled on both sides. The man believed that all those terrible months could play an important role when he wanted to realize something big. At the same time, Boon Janwook was like a thorn in his side because he was the only one in the police department who did not support his side. Balance is important. It's worth tipping the scales to one side and everything becomes obvious. Orchid on the phone, he asked Crane why he lied about 3 or 4 hours before the cops arrived. He was informed that the Maple Leaf men who were in the ambush were all dead. Looks like Hong Jun was a sneaky fox. He pretended to be weak in front of him while going behind his back. Crane reported that it looks like Hong Jun sent his team, have him tell Maple Leaf that he's sorry. However, Orchid has received another piece of information. They say it's not a team, but one man. The commissioner thought, is this really the guy? He knew something was wrong with him. But not to this extent. This is already a big change in plan. We'll have to resort to a backup to restore the balance. The guy got a call from Hong Jun and told him to wait for the task force. Bai Guan asked, "Is it Kim Ah-hyun by any chance? Is she going to slow everything down again?" This is Boon Jang-wook's special team. Among all the squads that exist now, this one is the strongest. Boon Jang-wook, Jang Yun, Park Jun-ho, Choi Sang-ho, and Kim Ah-hyun. "Now we can only go forward," the boy replied that he refused. He is much more comfortable doing the task alone. If someone with a strong character joins the team, there will be disagreements. Hong Jun recalled that Bai Guan said he was injured during the showdown with the real religion when he was an assassin. He replied that the first maple leaf had been the strongest of the months. Now, all those sent on assignments were pretty low level. The man said the bastard killed her wife and he wants to finish him off once and for all. The guy replied that he wanted that too, then let him obey him. He wants this mission to be smooth and clean, and he has a plan. Boon Jang-wook greeted Kim Kyung-soo. He said that he was the squad leader. Bai Guan asked, "Which squad? What is Jo Kyung-hee doing here?" The man replied that he was his man, so he couldn't leave his own behind. Cho Young confirms that teamwork is important on a mission. Leaving your own behind is not an option. Park Jun-ho walked up to Bai Guan and asked, "Is he the man who busted the drug dealers?" Choi Sang-ho told him to respect the chain of command. The guy replied that there could be no chain of command since he was below him in rank. "I was expecting to see more than that. Is he the kind of guy who leaves his guys behind and then calls himself the leader of the team?" Bai Guan replied that they were of no use anyway, so why take them with you? "But why leave them behind?" Jun-ho called him trash. Sang-ho told him to calm down and watch his vocabulary. The guy looking at these morons thought he had a frantic desire to get rid of everyone and go on a mission alone. Hyung said he should just be patient. The squad leader shouted to Jun-ho, "Did you really think of making a conflict during the mission? You have to be reasonable." Surely this guy had his own reasons. The man reported to Hong Jun that everyone was assembled. He replied that he would then begin the briefing on the mission. The facility is in a 3-story building, with stairs on the first floor, a dining room on the sides, and a passageway to the basement. On the second floor is the hall for services, and on the third floor is the office of the head of the sect, where important decisions are made and rituals are performed. If he were them, the first thing he would do would be to lure everyone deep into the building and then surround them from the rooms. So they must divide into teams and each go in a different direction. Straight ahead, left and right rooms, and the basement. The squad leader asked if there were any errors in the information. He replied that no, he had checked and double-checked it himself. However, there is one suspicious detail: they can't have such a powerful force. There must be something else. First, let them deal with their zone promptly, and then work together to prepare for the next steps. Bai Guan told everyone that he would go in a straight line. Everyone asked him why. He replied that he thought he was the strongest. Some were fine with it, but others were furious at what they heard. Sang-ho told Jun-ho to refrain from swearing. The squad leader remembered that he had forgotten to shake Bai Guan's hand when they met. With his permission, he asked him to do it now, and he said that Officer Kim Kyung-soo will go in a straight line. He will try to cover him while he goes upstairs. The guy started checking their gear and saw that the suitcase was all wrong. "It's just fishing poles. It looks like they were given the wrong suitcase." He told Chae-young to contact the carrier. The girl called, but there was no answer. Is this some kind of joke? Meanwhile, January Crane thanked Marine Police Chief Choi Jong-in for asking him to switch the suitcase. It's certainly over the top, but it can't be helped. If he wants to keep the balance, he'll do his best. Another maple leaf rite was underway. God is real. He has seen it for himself, and so he says it with certainty. The believer will find salvation and the unbeliever will be punished. And now the unbelievers are approaching them to harm them. But they will overcome them because they believe in God. When this battle is over, they will draw near to God. The madness in the words of the maple leaf began to encompass the believers. Maple leaves turn to scarlet fall foliage. In the same way, madness creeps into people. The operation of cleaning up fallen leaves is starting. We need to create order and prepare nature for winter rest. Once inside, they found a crowd of people in a hypnotic state. They were told to get rid of the uninvited guests. Major General Hong Jun warned the boys that there were a large number of ordinary people among the congregation who had been brainwashed. These people are dressed in white clothes and the rest of the people are dressed in green, yellow and red clothes. Cha Young says, since these people are dressed in white, you have to be careful with them so you don't hurt anyone. However, Baiguan doesn't care about that at all. He needs to clear his path. The others were shocked by the guy's actions. Park Jun-ho reminded him that these were ordinary people. Baiguan said he was well aware of that. Chue Sang-hong suggested to the commander that he help Baiguan. But the man replied that he had enough of watching this show. Let everyone go to their own position. It turns out Hong Jun was right. On the stairs leading to the second floor, Clone placed the white-clothed men to lure the enemy as deep as possible, and in the adjoining rooms and basement, he likely intends to surround them with parishioners in colored clothing. It was easier to verify than to prove. Hong Jun had been trying to find evidence related to the Huigux clan all this time, but after checking the materials Kim Nako gave him, it turned out to be pretty easy. He made sure there were no errors in the materials and proceeded with his plan. The boys gradually went up to the second floor. Maple Leaf was surprised because they were not together. They've split into teams, and each is headed to a different point. And they even know the location of the secret doors. Pla Hong Jun made Clone doubt his powers. He realized that there was a leak of information when Green Leaf was seized by the police. Maple hypnotized her into revealing information for bait. However, Hong Jun's information was not obtained from the Green Leaf, but from Crane. He thought it was weird. Maybe the hypnosis didn't work? Or did Hong Jun do a follow-up investigation? The fact that Crane is being policed inside the temple is known only to Monk and Orchid. Clune only knew that the Huigux clan had leaked their information to the police. Was it really Lespedeza and Hollow Mountain? He asked them why they had come here. But Clone's guess was wrong. Lespedeza said he was out of his mind. What do you mean, why? They're here on business. Clone said they didn't pretend they didn't know anything. This mission is to destroy him and his entire crew? Did the monk order it? But the guy doesn't understand why. It's not like he blasphemed like the first Maple Leaf did. Lespedeza said he was just talking about God and urging faith in Monk, and now he's talking nonsense? Paliagora explained that if they had been given the task of killing him, they would have done it long ago. Meanwhile, blood was boiling in the lower floors. Choi Sang-ho yelled at Park Jun-ho to watch his strength, because they were just ordinary people. He told Park Jun-ho to stop lecturing him. This corridor seemed so long to them. They'll have to defend it for a long time. We have to move forward slowly. Park Jun-ho was very worried about Baiguan since he went upstairs alone. Choi Sang-ho said there was no need to grumble, it was the commander's decision. However, Baiguan doesn't care at all about the number of them. He's on a different level. He thought it was strange. This was a hallway on the second floor, and everyone was wearing white for some reason. One of them said there is a maple leaf up ahead and he can't go there. These people don't seem to be waking up from hypnosis. The guy decided to bring him to his senses a little. Surely there must be something they could wake up from. Baiguan decided to go up and find out everything there. Meanwhile, Commander Boon Jang-wook and Kim Ah-hyun finished cleaning up on their hallway. They opened the next door and saw the leaders Hong Jun had spoken of on their way. These stags were once Huigux's assassins, but they were kicked out and Clone took them for himself. With the help of drugs and hypnosis, he made them into puppets who began to behave like himself. The longer the horns, the longer they were hitmen. Commander Boon Jang-wook asked if it was hard to wear such horns. He decided to tweak them a bit. However, he went a little overboard with the slant. The commander broke all the clown masks and sent them to bed. Suddenly, one of them came at him with a knife, but Ah-hyun managed to interfere. She's not like everyone else, she's clearly on a different level. On the top floor, they were still trying to resolve the disagreement. Black Lespedeza kept telling Clon that it was time for him to turn his brain on. They're doing business with him and Hyung. Why would they be involved in a mission to destroy him? Also, he didn't train for 2 days on purpose. If they were given such an assignment, he'd kill him and go to training. Moran, who? Especially since Paliagora was so busy he didn't even show up at the meeting. He would have moved on the first day if they had been ordered to remove him. Maple Leaf said well and will try to believe. After all, those who believe will find blessing. Lespedeka replied that he didn't have to worry. He had all the months on his side. Well as the leaves, the deer, though injured, are managed with drugs. However, There's another rag that used to be one of the months, the first wild cherry. She may yet have something to show, for the girl is talented and resilient. Her movements are so soft, I can't believe it. Is she some kind of cyborg? Was she really able to recover from the previous blow so quickly? Her eyes are dull and her movements are like a petal. If you hit her, she shakes like a leaf. The man realizes she's strong. He didn't want to kill people at all, but it couldn't be helped. If his blows don't work against her, we'll have to pin her to the floor and massage her breasts. There is more life in her eyes now than when she was alive. The commander informed everyone that they had finished in the room to the left and were ready to join them. Cha Young told Kyung-hee that she did pretty good. The girl was worried because it had been a long time since she had been on such an assignment. Kwang-hee asked, she hadn't been in this kind of situation for a long time either, right? She replied that her body was all stiff and she hadn't fully warmed up yet. In the past, when I used to be on assignment a lot more often, I'd get it done a lot faster. Kwang-hee wondered if she was in a special unit. She replied that no, she was not affiliated with the special forces. But then why is she so strong? The girl replied that she had followed a certain honorable man and had become so. The guys finished cleaning their hallway as well. Park Joon-ho was swearing that they could barely deal with them. If there had been a weapon, it would have been faster. Choi Sang-ho told him to stop using language. Every word he says is a swear word. Let him use it only when he really needs to, otherwise it'll become a habit. Joon-ho is so sick of that guy lecturing him. Sang-ho opened the door and swore at what he saw. What's going on in there? Joon-ho shouted, and there were two petals waiting for them, a red one and a yellow one. The girl said they were very loud, the red leaf and the yellow leaf. They were always by the maple tree's side, helping it with everything. They were raised from childhood as assassins in the temple. And Maple received them from a monk as a reward. Choi Sang-ho yelled that he had a snake waking up in his pants. What should he do? Park Joon-ho said to kill himself. Red Leaf said that Choi Sang-ho is knowledgeable about girls, however, they already have a master. The Maple Leaf has brainwashed them since childhood and they will always be loyal only to him. The guys yelled for them to put down their guns and surrender, and clearly said they would not fight them. However, the girls have orders from Clone to destroy all uninvited guests. They are obliged to fulfill them. Yellow Leaf was surprised that the guys ducked. So they weren't just talkers. The girl decided to move into melee range and attack, but all to no avail. Park Joon-ho shouted to Choi Sang-ho to run. They couldn't handle them without weapons. Choi Sang-ho said that he has never run away from girls and has no intention of doing so. The guy decided to strike first. Red Leaf was surprised, for the guy had said he felt something when he saw her. Choi Sang-ho said that there is no way to get close to a girl faster than communicating with her body language. Red Leaf caught his arm and said the guy was wrong about something about socializing. Before the monk sent the girls to Maple, they were contenders for the March Sakura place, and it was clear to everyone that they were special, since they were able to compete with the one that was now taking the place of the Sakura. Red Leaf said that in a conversation the conversationalists are equal. And what they are doing is not conversation, but one-way parenting. After whipping the Red Leaf, the Yellow Leaf decided to end the guy. Park Joon-ho, seeing this, picked up the table and threw it at her to prevent the death of his comrade. The girl had time to look and sliced that table in half with her weapon. Park Joon-ho kept telling Choi Sang-ho that they should run away. However, the guy said that the girls were so hot that there was no way he would run away, even if it was under threat of death. In the end the guys decided that they would fight, even though it would be a dirty battle. Meanwhile, Baigwon went up to the second floor. He was surprised that no one was there. When the guy was an assassin, different people always came in during assignments, which seemed strange to him. Baigwon will finally see his true Maple Leaf face. He watched him from the cameras, and the thought flashed through his mind, how annoying. Boon Jan-wook had some information, so Kleo anticipated it, but he couldn't even imagine how strong this guy was. Klen knew that he was the one who had taken out the Phoenix. That was when their task force was completely dead, but he didn't pay attention. Maybe they were just lucky? Maple doesn't consider himself weaker than Phoenix. He has a secret trump card that the temple doesn't know about. Fortunately, it won't have to be taken out. Baigwon looked around and didn't realize, wasn't it too presumptuous to leave the passage to the third floor empty? But suddenly Black Lespediza stood in his way. He asked the guy, is he so blind that he can't see his huge body? Looks like Hong Joon was right when he said that Maple Leaf wouldn't be alone. Black Lespediza said that he knew the guy was coming. Baigwon replied that it was quite good. The jock offered to fight and put an end to this game. The boy replied that he would certainly kill him with his own hands. The jock didn't understand Bai Guan's intention. He said that the word kill can be used in several meanings. For example, he has a killer body. But will that pile of muscle help him? Bai Guan jumped on him and said that he was slow-witted. Maybe his brain is made of muscles, too. A black Lespediza from the Huigux clan. He had the strongest fist, but his speed was always lacking. Bai Guan said he gets bigger and bigger every time. The last time they had fought, he had also talked like he knew him. The boy replied that of course he did, and said he was the muscle-bound retard. When the jock heard that, he tried to grab him. Lespediza asked the guy, took off his clothes and got out of trouble. Next he takes off his shirt and then his underwear. Throwing his jacket away, he shouted that he'd skin him. They're no joke. At the time, Bi Guang thought he was the one who had slowed down. But in fact, Lespediza had gotten faster. The guy asked, after that day, did he start paying attention to speed? The jock looked at him and didn't understand anything. What kind of day are we talking about? Bai Guan said that ability should be recognized. He really did well. He tried so hard to hide his shortcomings. For the sake of this body, he was defeated many times, but he did not give up to prove his strength. Bai Guan sees that he has even now gotten over the failure of that day, and has become much faster by correcting his weaknesses. The guy recognizes his efforts and gives him a standing ovation. Well done indeed, bravo! Lespediza called him a freak and asked what he was even talking about. Who is he anyway to recognize or not recognize him? Bai Guan replied that such a body is difficult to achieve with effort alone, and it looks like even the pills aren't gonna help. Lespede said he's all natural. Bai Guan said with a smirk that he was sorry. After all, for the sake of increasing his muscles, he had given up the joy of increasing something else, chose to make his muscles harder, and gave up the joy of hardening another part of his body. What the hell is this nonsense? The jock asked. Bai Guan asked, doesn't he have a clue? And said that he was a castrato. That hurt his feelings a lot. The jock attacked the guy with his powerful arms, but to no avail. Bai Guan managed to dodge. He pulled out a knife and said his huge body stripped him of his valuable parts. This body isn't capable of anything, just a big piece of meat, nothing more. Bai Guan said that it was good that he brought his gun with him. It would be easier to cut him into pieces. The guy also noticed that he still doesn't use a gun. Lespediza shouted that weapons are for weaklings who doubt their own strength. The guy reminded me that he was showing off that day, and then he lost. Does he think it's all about speed? His brother didn't give him any advice? Shivering with fear, Black Lespediza asked who he was. The boy replied that he would find out soon, but first he needed to remember the nightmare of that day. Maple Leaf watched their fight from the side and realized in a moment that this guy was the same Bai Guan. Black Lespediza felt the same pressure in this short bout as he did from his first 250-pound bench press barbell. Thanks to this pressure in the past, he survived the hunger room with his brother, and when they came out of there, through their endeavors, they killed April and July, taking their places. It was the triumph of man over physical handicap. It was diligence that helped the brothers to survive and achieve everything. Their whole life itself was an endeavor. That was why they hated Phoenix, even though she was one of them. After all, she got strong with the help of drugs. They couldn't have imagined it. One afternoon, Brother July asked April why it was necessary to kill the Phoenix. Is it really that serious? He doesn't like her that much, but she's pretty good looking. April said he's too obsessed with girls. He needs to fix himself. The boy replied that he hates them too much. Brother April said he hates everyone. He doesn't like those who are inattentive to their bodies, but especially girls. When he looks at Phoenix, there is a feeling that all his efforts are in vain. In that case, Brother July agreed with him, but suggested that he observe the situation for now. After that, the brothers tried to find an excuse to kill Phoenix and sneakily interfere with everything she does. The girl just didn't understand why there were such serious problems every time. She had a hard time making the right decision since everyone hated her behind her back. And at one point Buddha realized that there was no use for Phoenix. And the Lisp's brothers were always there for him. Thus they thought they had a good chance to finally get rid of her. However, one rainy evening, Bai Guan met with Brother April and said that he had been watching them. He found out that the brothers were interfering with Phoenix and trying to kill her. But Black Lespediza didn't understand. What was the big deal? Bai Guan said that he would be the one to decide whether to kill her or not. It was none of their business. He has his own relationship with Phoenix, just like he does with his brother. And it's up to the guy to decide whether or not to let her live. Does he understand? Brother April decided not to listen to him and tried to show him that he was not to be trifled with. However, he was too slow to do anything for Baiguan. He repeated once more whether Brother April understood him or not, or whether the lesson needed to be extended. That rainy evening, he got a good beating from Baiguan. In his clouded mind, Black Lespedeza learned for the first time that there are some things that don't work out, even if you try hard enough. When he felt like he was about to lose his life, his brother was there to help him. Brother July said he made a deal with Baiguan during the fight. He promised that they wouldn't touch Phoenix. And in the end, Baiguan let Brother April go for treatment. Brother July told him not to be angry. If he made an effort he would win anyway. After that day, Black Lespedeza got hooked on steroids. The drugs made him much stronger, and the bigger his muscles got, the more he hated women. A few years later, Lespedeza decided to take revenge on Baiguan, but the latter was already dead. And now, looking at this guy he didn't understand, so why was Baiguan's energy emanating from him? April's powerful Lespedeza didn't understand why he was shivering so much looking at him. Is it the habit of tensing up, or is it fear? What is it about this guy? He let out a whooping scream like after an undercooked barbecue and lunged at Baiguan. Baiguan stopped him with his knife and said that his technique hadn't changed a damn bit. Is he just going to keep going through the motions? Black Lespedeza replied that he could lift weights all he wanted, but eventually there would come a point where he would win. You just have to grab it once and it'll work, thought the blooded jock. Baiguan asked, did he think he had 100 lives to spare? He only needs to lift it once, like a barbell. But our protagonist doesn't think so. Baiguan's skill is no match for a barbell. He said it was weak. The fact that his muscles atrophied before the blow saved his life, but not for long. But where had his confidence gone? Why did he wrinkle his nose like that? The boy asked. The miserable jock asked, who was he? Did Baiguan really have disciples? Lespedeza was at a loss, but even in this situation, one thing he knew for sure. There's no way he can beat this guy. When he heard about Baiguan's death, he breathed a sigh of relief, for there was no need for him to fight him then. Even if he suffered hundreds of defeats, he believed that one day he would win. It was only worth the effort. But Baiguan is just a sigil. His ability, it's just an inherent talent. The first Baiguan himself noticed his abilities and praised him. But in this world, praise for an ordinary person is a curse. The guy never wanted to have abilities like his, but still, it's better than nothing. What matters more is not which ability, but who gets it, however cursed it may be. Lespedeza thought he would never see himself in such a pathetic state again in his life. He wanted to cry, but he held back and didn't. His brother always told him that if he tried hard enough, he could win. He asked the guy if he knew there was a safety device for strength exercises to prevent dangerous situations. After all, if a person fails, he or she will say goodbye to this world forever. Most people use these devices when lifting heavy weights. Baiguan asked, what's the big deal? It's a strange will. Lespedeza retracts the safety device when he lifts the heaviest weight, choosing night time, when no one was around, so no one could help him. He was ready to die if he failed, but if he didn't want to die, then he had to raise it. Then there's nothing worse than dying. This weight is bullshit. Baiguan said it's a long explanation that he's just a fucking asshole. Lespedeza kept saying this was his situation. He came here thinking he wasn't gonna die. However, now, he would fight knowing that he could die. Baiguan said let him try. Lespedeza put his best foot forward and scooted away. Looks like there's something else on the brain. Baiguan didn't expect this from him, but he wouldn't get out of there alive. He asked, leaving him alone here. Is that really how he wants to live? Lespedeza replied that yes, he did. That sounded disgusting to Baiguan. Lespedeza had thought about death many times in the past, pondering why he had been born so weak. It was painful for him, and he thought it was unfair. What was the point of trying to survive then? In the end, things only got worse. So the brothers ended up in the isolation center, where they were starved to death. Even then, he told his brother it was for the best. All this time they were trying to do something to survive, and now that humiliation had come to an end. My younger brother supported me and said that trying to survive is not humiliating. The only thing that didn't seem to disgust Lespedeza was his attempt to survive. That's what changed him. Baiguan said he takes it back, but that doesn't change the fact that he's finished. Lespedeza took off running again. The boy said he wasn't going to make it anyway. This dumb jock decided to jump off a window. What would you do? Write in the comments, it will be interesting to read. Baiguan asked what is the point of this life if one has such injuries. Lespedeza replied that the meaning is that he is alive. If he lives, he can try again and again. It's like the approaches, he will be able to deal with them and he will live. Baiguan thought that it was impossible to let this guy go alive. Goosebumps ran through my skin because of Lespedeza's all-consuming desire to live. The guy decided to throw his knife at him, but Lespedeza had time to react and set his arm up. He couldn't even stand up, but he kept saying he would survive no matter what. Lespedeza would try, if only to stay alive. Baiguan decided that this wasn't the way to go. Even if he wasted a lot of time, he must go down and finish him off. But it looks like someone decided to cover Lespedeza's ass. Could it be August Hollow Mountain? It had been so long since they'd seen each other. His swords were as sharp as ever. Red and Yellow Petal wondered why these guys were so desperate to defend themselves. Everyone knew that every member of Boon Janwook's squad had taken their position. Kim Dongchul and Shin So-hwai were in charge of shooting and cover. For the assault himself, Boon Jangwook, Cha Young, and Choi Hoon. And the defense is the responsibility of these guys, Jun-ho and Sang-ho. Yellow Leaf asked, what's the point of just standing? Wouldn't end up standing anyway? Red Leaf agrees with her. Tables don't last forever, it's time for them to die. She shouted that she was going to blow the place apart and threw a mighty punch. Jun-ho said that while they are holding positions here, the commander will come to them. Suddenly, Boon Janwook radioed that he was heading to the next room where they were, but said it was a couple minutes ago. He heard the sound of breaking glass on the second floor and the screams of some unknown man. He needs to check outside. Let them hold on a little longer. Over and out. Looks like they're going to have to work a little harder to survive now. Jun-ho asked if you've seen Sex and the City. The guys were surprised. Someone fell out of the second floor through the window and crawled further down the road. Kim Kyung-soo was on the second floor. Kim Ah-hyun immediately decided to radio him to ask if the guy was okay. She said the guy wasn't answering in case he was hurt, and suggested we follow these tracks or go to the second floor. Meanwhile, the guys were trying to survive. They ran as hard as they could from these maniac girls. They thought they were pathetic. They also say that men never run away first. Sang-ho shouted that there were times the men should run away. Jun-ho kept saying that if they had guns, they would win. Yellow Leaf said it was all an excuse. They'll be telling it in hell. But suddenly, she ran into Commander Boon Jangwook's fist. The boys were very happy to see him. The man had met many strong opponents while working in a special unit, and even after a brief touch he could learn everything about a person. After he shook Kim Kyung-soo's hand, the commander felt a strong aura that only 3 of the people he knew had. Kim Ah-hyun asked him, what will they do? She shouted, but there was no answer. We have to go up to the second floor. The man replied that there was no need to worry about Sergeant Kim Kyung-soo. He sent the girl on a bloody trail, while he himself came to the aid of Jun-ho and Sang-ho. Red Leaf asked her sister if she had noticed. It seemed this man could be of use to them. Boon Janwook himself noticed that the Yellow Leaf had incredible agility and power. He wondered if the Red Leaf was of the same level or higher. There are many more strong opponents than he thought. These girls need to be finished. Looks like we're gonna get our hands dirty today. Maple Leaf noticed that the security cameras on the second floor were not working. Looks like the Hollow Mountain did it. Did he have no other choice? Would he have to resort to this? He was a naive and foolish boy. Then the first Maple Leaf asked why he didn't want her to leave him. The guy replied that he loved her. Then the girl asked that he could love her no matter what, but in the end, she left him. And there's nothing you can do about it. He's gonna have to take advantage of that. It's time for him to prove to everyone what he can do. Jo Kyung-hee and Cha Young had finished on their floor. It was time for them to go back to the others, but suddenly the earth shook. Could this be an earthquake? The troop thought. Only the leaves knew what had happened. Some people, if you can call them that, came up to the girls' floor. Marvel's dark side? Black Leaf greeted the girls. She was so glad that Maple Leaf had called them. Maple and Crane were the only ones not originally in the Huiguc's lineup. He himself gathered the remnants of the gang and infiltrated the lower ranks of the clan, vowing not to keep people Huigucsa doesn't know about with him. However, the Maple had a trump card that it hid from everyone. It was the 3 apostles who died with the first Maple. However, they were barely alive because of him. There were 3 of them: Matthew, Philip and James. This girl who calls herself a Black Leaf looks dangerous, Cha Young thought. In an instant, Cha Young didn't realize how she ended up next to her. Black Leaf said she didn't think that clan had summoned her for them. Cha Young tried to land the first blow, but the Black Leaf's speed and agility is phenomenal. She told Matthew to take care of it himself. She had to hurry to meet Klon. Jo Kyung he shouted at Matthew to stay back. He would use his secret weapon. Suddenly Cha Young stood up and jumped on him with her powerful legs. She tested his neck for strength. The bulky man turned out to be weak. Looking at the Black Leaf, the girl said that she wasn't the only one here who wanted to finish quickly and leave. Black Leaf shouted that she hadn't asked for permission either. Cha Young would have to deal with these 2 first. She easily dispensed with Philip and ran to get the Black Leaf, telling Kwang Hee to take care of Jacob herself. The creature decided to run away, but the girl pulled out her taser and shot it. Is that happy face a good thing or not? Does he have balls of steel? Cha Young still continued to run after the Black Leaf as well, and thought, where did this psycho woman come from? She's just over 20 years old and a graduate of the police academy. At first her goal was to become chief of police, but then she fell in love with a man, and to be near him, she had to join a special unit. Through her endeavors, she began to work with him and her love grew stronger and stronger, thus passed about 10 years in service beside that man. However, the years went by and she gradually grew older. She's 34 years old now, and she can't catch up with this reckless girl who only wants Maple. Cha Young shouted that if she was 10 years younger, she would have caught her long ago. Black Leaf replied that that wasn't the case. It's just that her love and desire to see him is stronger than Cha Young's desire to catch up with the girl. Cha Young didn't understand what that thing was saying. She's completely crazy, ruining her mood. The girl asked her, does she like speed because her man is a speed shooter? Black Leaf stopped abruptly and asked what it meant. Cha Young replied, what did she think? What didn't she like and why did she get so angry? Black Leaf shouted at Cha Young to take back her words. The girl defended herself as best she could. Cha Young said she wouldn't apologize and gave her a powerful punch, and now she had to defend herself. The blows came from all sides. Cha Young said that the girl smeared her lips like she was a corpse. Her man is really skinny and she decided to make herself look like him. The girl stood up and said she didn't want to touch her face, but since she started first, she would have to use her weapon. Cha Young smiled and replied that she was trashy and looked older than her. There were 12 apostles. Among all the months only a few are the strongest. Among them was the first Maple. She is the one who created this grouping. However, they could not compare to the months led by the monk. After the Huiguksa War, they suffered losses and fled to the Philippines. The leaders were liquidated by Baiguan. They kept losing, after which they were broken. However, even after that, they remained the strongest. It was clear to anyone that there was no chance of success. And yet, Cha Young entrusted Jacob to Jo Kyung Hee for a reason. As she battled with the congregation in white, Cha Young stared intently at her technique. The girl told her not to do anything, she would deal with everyone on her own. Kyung Hee felt hurt by those words and replied that she was of no use. I guess I should have listened to Kyung Soo. Cha Young noticed that she was only hitting mostly vital organs. Who taught her to move like that, like a killer? There are some inept moves, but the average person could very well die from a blow from one of these acolytes in white. Cha Young was scared to think what she would make of her. She clearly has potential. When Kwang Hee saw Kim Kyung-soo's resilient response to injustice, she thought he was stupid. However, on the other hand, thought he was brave. In the end, the guy was able to cope with all the difficulties. Looking at his steadfastness, Jo Kwang Hee thought about what an amazing man he was. What's so awesome about him, though? Always hitting her during practice. But she was pleased when he praised her. Unlike Lee Sung-hyun and Hwang Hee-jun, the guy just made her learn the fighting style. She was pretty bright, so she learned all his tricks, but I physically couldn't replicate them in reality and thought I was worthless. Baiguan encouraged her in every way he could. He said that fighting is the power of the spirit. Stop whining and let him keep fighting, then there will be an opportunity to make a difference. Kwang Hee thought hard and decided that there was no need to let up, it was time to win. However, they have too much difference in their abilities. Jacob dodged all her blows, and just waiting for the moment when he could strike and finish her off. These blows from the girl were very unskillful, but stirred something in him. Zhou Kuanghe's movements reminded Jacob of his mental disorder. He was so scared that he decided to just run away from her, but he couldn't get far. Jacob slipped and fell. The girl didn't understand what was wrong with this moron. Kuanghe realized that this was her chance and she had to take it. She clamped his hands and told him to lie still. She did it, she beat him. Now she will be praised again. Meanwhile, the Black Leaf attacked Cha Young with her weapon, but the girl managed to dodge. Cha Young didn't realize what kind of weapon she was holding. Yo-yo? Or was it a bowler? Black Leaf had done her damage after all and asked her what she was thinking about. Or scared that she was about to go to the other side of the world. Brave Cha Young replied that she was not afraid of death, but rather glad. If she dies, the commander will give her life to avenge her. It's romantic for her. Black Leaf smiled and said that she should die then. Cha Young replied that she definitely couldn't. Meanwhile, the beloved commander was punishing the other leaves with his strong fist. They may be agile and fast, but not as a commander. They still need training. He'll likely mess up their makeup and correct their jaw. Free treatments. The man clearly made it clear that they couldn't handle them, even with weapons in hand. Park Jun-ho said that their commander throws his forces around too much during the fight. Choi Sang-ho replied that if he had a gun, he wouldn't be hurt as much. Boon Jan-wook observed that these girls are too afraid, so they don't show their full potential. He realizes they're not afraid of him. But they're less resistant now, and maybe that's a good thing, so he won't have to kill them. The man ordered the boys to arrest them and tied their hands with fishing line. The guys were fighting because they wanted to do it themselves. But in the end they tied them up. Boon Jang-wook said stop fighting. We should go to Cha Young's place. The guys were surprised because they hadn't seen her for a long time. Maybe there was a strong opponent in the basement, Park Jun-ho suggested. The commander replied that she could not be worried about her, nothing serious would happen. But suddenly her voice came from across the corridor. She was calling for the commander's help. When they heard her voice, they all started running to the basement. The commander's beast had awakened. He threw a powerful punch, but the Black Leaf managed to dodge. The girl warned that one hit and Cha Young would go to the other world. The commander said to let her go now. Black Leaf replied that there was no need to be so angry. On the contrary, you should be thankful. She ripped the pumpkin off the stalk. Don't you realize what's going on yet? If they step forward, she'll kill her that second. Suddenly, Cha Young bit her hand. Black Leaf asked, did she decide to bite her tongue and die? But it doesn't work that way. She's the one who will kill her. She may not try. Kuanghe ran up to them with her taser. When the girl shot her, she froze in place. She didn't realize what was going on. What was that mop? Park Jun-ho decided not to waste any time and tried to strike. Black Leaf managed to dodge, but Choi Sang-ho decided to help his comrade and successfully struck right at the good. The commander ordered the guys to take Cha Young away and take care of the treatment. Have Kyung-hee go upstairs and help Kim Kyung-soo. He'll be done here in no time and come over to them. Black Leaf understood now. She would have to ruin his shirt. During his time in Special Forces, Boon Jan-wook has seen many strong fighters and learned that everyone has their own fighting style. Some try to strike the opponent with fidgety movements, and there are those that look like venomous snakes. They hide their fangs for a sudden bite. There are some that wait for the right moment to attack, and the kind that you can watch endlessly, but it's impossible to understand their style. Boon Jan-wook's style is that he is not afraid of injury. The girl was surprised, since his fighting style was so unpleasant. Does he not care about his own body at all? Mindlessly jumping into the druku is a very big disadvantage. The commander said he didn't think his fighting style was a disadvantage. Black Leaf thinks it's probably because of his style that he lost his eye. It's possible that he came across a strong fighter who was superior to him in some way. The man asked, did she think if he didn't have a gun on him he wasn't willing to lose his hands? His style was quite simple, give the bones and take the flesh in return. Boon Jan-wook said that her boss didn't call her because of him. There's someone stronger than him, he's already gone upstairs. She herself should know that the greater the power, the scarier. They train their whole lives to become powerful. They know that power is all they have. So they avoid fighting him at all costs. They know perfectly well that they can't kill him without harming themselves. What's she gonna do? To help her boss, she needs to get to him in one piece. This time he's willing to give up his ears. But what can she give up? From the eyes and from the fingers? Or maybe the nose. Whatever it was, she must choose the one that would least prevent her from fighting further. Because that guy is stronger than him many times over, she needs to make a choice. He is more dangerous than anyone in this building. You can only see vengeance and rage in his eyes. Their first encounter with Hollow Mountain was back when he was still an assassin. Baiguan had seen many months with different abilities, but he had never met someone with similar skills. Therefore, he felt resentment towards him, whose abilities were very similar. Hollow Mountain also felt that they were alike, and always wanted to know who was the stronger of the two. What would be the outcome of this battle? Zhou Qiang, he wondered on the way to the guy's place. How many could he put down? When she opened the door, she didn't understand what could have happened in there. It was like a herd of bulls. Maple Leaf thought that since the sounds of fighting had died down, it was over. It looks like the black sheet is giving way. After they lost their strength in a fight with a police SWAT team, he had planned for the Hollow Mountain to complete the job, but there was no way he could figure it out. Did they want to kill the Lespedeza? He doesn't understand anything, but suddenly a guy walked into his domain. Maple Leaf asked, "Who is this, Hollow Mountain?" He introduced himself as Baiguan. The man immediately reacted by throwing his iron leaves. The Maple Leaf couldn't figure out where the Hollow Mountain was. Was it dead too? Guy said, "Stop racking your brains. Nothing is predetermined. If he doesn't confess to his crimes, he'll die right there." Baiguan realized that this was the same boy who hid when the first maple tree was dying. He said that the guy didn't keep his promise since he was the second Maple Leaf. The Maple Leaf replied that the boy was talking nonsense. The guy had said earlier that he was Baiguan. Had he forgotten about the promise he had made to him that day? Meeting the first Maple Leaf was quite a strange experience for a guy. The girl asked him if he could shine his face like that. He replied that it wasn't that important, they wouldn't look at him for long anyway, then she has no reason to hide hers. She hopes they'll work together. Baiguan heard that among her people, there are 12 apostles. Are these 2 of those apostles? The girl replied that no, they are not apostles. They are her favorite sheets. When it turns a scarlet color, they too change, and when it turns into dry leaves, they too fall off. When she becomes green leaves again, they become with her. She loves her beautiful leaves. Judging by the questions, he's interested in her and thinks they'd be great for each other. The guy said absolutely not. She reminds him of a monk in behavior. She's just being patient so she doesn't snap and kill them. The girl said they are completely different. She really likes them a lot. This was the first meeting of Baiguan, the second Maple and Black Leaves. Baiguan realized that this girl was contentedly strong. And that meant that the apostles were strong as well, and those boys are gonna grow up to be very strong. Maybe even that girl will be one of the months. The Maple Leaf was trying to hit on the guy in every way possible, saying he was strong and young. But he kept blowing her off. He didn't know much about love and feelings, but one thing he knew for sure was that it wasn't love. Just look at these guys. They look obedient, but you can see in their eyes how scared they are of her. She must have instilled that fear in them. And that's what she considers love? The girl said that fear is also love. For her, love is when your pulse races at the sight of your beloved, when you think of someone else all the time. You can't live without him. Watching Baiguan fight makes her heart pound. Does he want to feel how hard it's beating? The boy said no, but the Maple Leaf didn't give up hope. He would still love her, even if he didn't like something. Let him wait a few years, because something interesting will happen. 3 years had passed since that meeting. The first Maple, along with the apostles and other subordinates, attacked the Huaguxa clan when there were no months there. The monk said that he had noticed the signs for a long time and that it was she who had pointed the knife at him. The girl replied that she no longer wanted to be afraid of being abandoned. Let her try to hold out until the months come. Monk asked, does she want to test him? Worthless girl. Maple and the 8 apostles brought with them 60 men in red robes and attacked the monk. But to him, it's just numbers and nothing more. She was defeated. The first Lespedeza and the second Peony saw the end of this fight. They could not believe their eyes. How could this be? The months came one by one, the first Sakura and the first Hollow Mountain. The guy asked Sakura, did she really let those 2 go? She replied that that girl was strong and thought the other months would deal with her on their own. Maybe because that girl was vying for her spot, that's why she reacted like that? He was used to her, but he also liked that other Sakura contender. The girl replied that the second Baiguan would also soon dislodge him from his place as the strongest. They hadn't fought him yet. Let her better think about him. After the defeat, Maple fled to the Philippines with the rest of the gang. She did not know what to do next. What was she missing? Had all her efforts been in vain? The fear the monk instills is much deeper than hers, and it looks like her love wasn't enough to create a miracle. The first Maple, who lost the battle with Huaguksa, began to instill an even greater sense of dread in the apostles and believers, and the leaves had to feel incredible pain. She decided to scar them for defeat. Clen asked why they were taking so long. They said they would love her no matter what. Clone asked the guy if he knew why she wanted to become a goddess. He replied that he didn't know. No one leaves God behind. No matter what happens, the only thing that remains is God. The guy asked, does that mean she's going to leave him someday? Clone replied, so he wouldn't be afraid. There was no way she would leave him, ever. Baiguan was instructed to exterminate all the apostles and her for betrayal. The corpses of the apostles began to decompose. Is this the love she was talking about? First Maple replied that there was no point in asking about it if he knew it himself. Baiguan asked where did those children who were around her go? The girl asked if he thought they had died or not. He replied that she was nasty as hell, would have to kill her. Maple Leaf told the guy to stay out of it. Tell him to hide in the back and watch. No matter what, she'll come back alive, don't worry. During the struggle, the girl remembered and said she heard him suffer torture. And it seems to be true. Baiguan replied that as it was no longer as exciting then, she won. Maple Leaf said he was a real monster after all. He fractured all her joints. It's not gonna be easy to move. The girl said that if the guy had helped her, maybe the battle that day would have had a different outcome. How so? For he too had many grievances against the ugly man. Big Guan replied that Buddha had promised him that if he completes the task, it will allow him to live the life of a normal person. The girl asked, does he believe that? Baiguan will never be able to live like a normal person. There's one thing she can't understand. In his prime, he could have handled that freak. Maybe it was all about that girl? That rooster had her in his grasp, so he couldn't go against him, and that girl hated him. He was dumber than the Maple Leaf thought, but now it's too late to join forces and destroy them. Baiguan threw his final punch and said that she was as much a creature as Buddha. The young lad yelled. She said there was no way she was leaving him. He got angry and tried to strike Baiguan. But it was unsuccessful. Baiguan said that no matter how many wounds he had, he couldn't handle it. And there's no point in crying like that. Let him come to his senses. That girl doesn't give him love, she inspires fear. If fear is love, then does he love him too? The guy's still young, he can forget everything and live a normal life. The second Maple Leaf said it was unexpected. What on earth is going on here? Baiguan replied that he had enough of rolling up the stage. Let him unhypnotize the congregation and confess his crimes. Maple Leaf wondered if God had sent him this trial. Wants to test his faith? It's definitely a test from above. How else do you explain all this? He began to pray and said that his faith was unchanging. Let him ask for it. Baiguan didn't think for a long time and landed him on the ground with a sword strike to the head. He said his head was all messed up, would have to fix his head. Boon Jangwook asked, what was she doing here? After all, he was only trying to check on her. Didn't they find out everything about each other? Let him fight to the death. Black Leaf yelled for the girls to get up, so they're just gonna watch. However, their hands and feet are tied. Especially her opponent is a man. What good are they? The commander said there is no greater burden than helpless allies, they only get in the way. Suddenly the Black Leaf pulled out her bling and used hypnosis. The girls ripped off all the iron strings. They got a second wind and tried to beat the commander, but the man immediately corrected their makeup. The Black Leaf rushed to the beloved Maple without thinking for a long time. Meanwhile, Baiguan tried to peacefully negotiate with Clone. Guy insisted that he remove the hypnosis from the apostles, but he flatly refused. Baiguan wondered how long he could last like this. Clone finally realized that the guy was the same Baiguan he knew earlier. He sensed something wrong when he watched them fight with the Lespediza. But how can you believe that? Only a crazy person would believe that. That day, the guy was saying he was a bastard like the others. Maple could say the same about him. He looks a lot like a monk. The monk solved things by using violence and fear. Baiguan is exactly the same, and he has learned to solve problems only in this way. The guy said he had a pretty good tongue lashing. After all, he's at the head of a pseudo-religion. Klon replied that Bai Guan himself had said that he needed to live like ordinary people. But how is that possible? What must be done to live like the others? Did he himself ever live a normal life? Bai Guan replied that he didn't know. Then how can he tell him about it? Maple, too, knows only what he has been taught. He was only told that it was the only way he could get her to love him. As a child, our hero had already asked this question to the first Bai Guan, and the latter also said he didn't know. He also told him several times to live a normal life, and he didn't even know what that was. The man said there is no answer to that question. Everyone imagines life differently. For him, life was like a story. A story of which he was the author himself. Everyone has a different story, but the end is always predetermined. In the end, they all die. Yet before he dies, when he looks at the years he has lived, there should be no regrets in him. One should strive for a happy ending. Small asked, "Does that mean one can live as one pleases?" The man replied that he could if it made him happy. However, there are some things you must not do under any circumstances. You must not harm other people. How can you demand respect for yourself if you don't know how to respect others? It's just not logical. The kid asked, could he never live like a normal person? Lately, he has been studying with a monk and has noticed that he is becoming like him. First Bai Guan said, let him not worry, he has thick hair, he will not go bald. Small took his hand away and asked, did he think he was joking? The man said he was kind of boring. He should work on his sense of humor. There's nothing wrong with that because he'll be stronger. So he has to hurt someone? That's right, the kid's bound to kill someone. He can't escape his fate, he has to overcome it to stay alive. He'll kill others, and then he'll get used to it. His feelings will grow stronger, and then let him remember their conversation. This pretzel uses fear not only for his own benefit, but also for those close to him. The kid is quite capable of doing that, let him remember that. Bai Guan had been taught to use fear for just that purpose. Maple asked if that was why he lived like that. The boy replied that he was trying. Clone said that no one could touch the monk because of the fact that everyone was afraid of the guy. But what was the result? He died, and so did the monk. And the pinnacle of fear is God, who cannot be resisted. Bai Guan said he also tried to resist him and died, but he is not ashamed of that life. Can he call himself honest and honorable? Maple replied, what difference does it make? He was taught that this was the only way he could get love. Bai Guan said miserably. Klong said, what normal person would believe that Bai Guan is back? So he wasn't abandoned, it was just an unimaginable situation. He'll stay alive and come back to him. Bai Guan said he's not going anywhere until he's out of hypnosis. Now to fix his brain. Suddenly, the black leaf shouted at the guy to stay still or Kwang he would be finished. Bai Guan remembered that it was a girl, the same girl who had been on the team with him before with the first maple. Black Leaf thought, was he the one with the eye talking about him? Is this guy stronger than him? Bai Guan said he would not repeat it, let him release the hostage. Black Leaf immediately paid the price for not believing in Bai Guan's intentions. He told Krung He to sit quietly in the corner, he'll deal with Cloan too. Bai Guan asked, is he going to escape too? Maple shouted to the Black Leaf to stop him. The girl tried her best, but Bai Guan immediately calmed her down. Maple uses a girl he was friends with as a kid as a shield, and he wants to escape. The guy shouted to the Black Leaf, even if he had to die, let him stall for time while he escaped. Maple thinks she'll definitely get out of here and get back to him. He will accept his faith, there can be no refusal. This is his only chance. The girl shouted that she loved Clone with all her heart, and she's always loved him. Ever since she was a child, she had confessed her feelings to him. First Maple brought children from the orphanage and raised her own army, just as Monk had done. This boy would become a second maple tree in the future. He was abandoned by his parents when he was an infant and never received love. For all those like him, the first maple insinuated that fear is love. However, there was one girl who kept telling the boy Oppa that she loved him. The future Black Leaf was the only one who remembered the love received in the family. This girl followed the second maple tree everywhere, which reminded her of her dead older brother. They had been friends for a long time, so they became close. But the second maple thought it loved the first maple. And the Black Leaf was very afraid of her. The girl asks why the maple tree is always scolding them. She was scared. Did he really like her that much? The guy replied that she was doing it because of her love for them. Black Leaf said that it doesn't even smell like love. But then what is love? The girl replied that love is so simple. Suddenly their conversation was disturbed by the first maple tree. She asked what the leaves were doing here. It's no time for them to sit here and talk. Let them go after her. But where to? The girl replied that it was time for battle. They were on a mission to destroy the first March Sakura. A little more and she would have killed the guy, but the black leaf made it in time. The girl told him to run. But that's the assignment Miss Maple gave him. She said she didn't care about the mission. If he stayed here he'd die like the last dog. March Sakura said, "Let her not worry, they'll all die here." She sensed that the girl was a contentedly strong opponent, and decided it was better to switch to the guy. But the black sheep was in time and took the hit. Sakura said if she presses it, she'll die. What should I do? She was young and blooming like that once too. Maybe they should take her, they liked her. If she were them, she'd hurry up. Let them go before she changed her mind. The guy asked her why she did that. She replied that she had a brother who looked a lot like him. He tried to protect her from her father's beatings and left his life saying he loved her. Klon told him to die in her place. She decided to die in his place, but he's not even his own brother. Why? Why do you have to make such a sacrifice? Black Leaf wept and said, because she loves him. That day the boy realized what attachment and responsibility for a human being is. Maple decided to punish the Black Leaf for not completing the task. The guy stopped her and said he would get the punishment instead. It's not fear, it's sacrifice. What do you guys think? Did he do the right thing? Write in the comments. The first Maple locked the Black Leaf deep in the basement so she couldn't meet the second Maple. She also hypnotized the other maple tree into forgetting her and looking only at her. She insinuated to him that fear was love and then told him everything she knew herself. Gradually, his abilities grew and he became stronger and stronger. He was curious as to why it was necessary to indoctrinate a person with a trigger that could awaken them from hypnosis. The girl said that no one knows how circumstances might turn out. Let it be, it doesn't matter. The trigger that put the first Maple into the second to break the hypnosis, the word, sorry. Some time passed after her death, and the second Maple woke up from its hypnosis. He found a Black Leaf, but he couldn't even hug her because he realized he had become very much like the first maple tree. The boy had become like the one he feared so much. The second maple tree decided to run away from this reality. But the girl immediately said that wherever he went, she would follow him. So the guy hypnotized himself. He decided to forget everything and live as he had been taught, serving the one he feared. But, just as his first Maple had taught him, he put in a trigger capable of bringing him out of hypnosis. And the trigger was "I love you, Maple." Did she really say that? The first Maple headed for the guy with his bare hands, but Baiguan's fist was in his way. He asked what was the matter? Did he change his mind about attacking? Turns out he's not interested in Baiguan at all and doesn't want to fight him. There was a reason he thought this second Maple was some strange type. He didn't mean to hit him, he just wanted to hug this girl. The guy said he remembered everything. He's sorry about what happened. The Maple seemed beautiful to him, an all-consuming fear. And the scarlet blood like the Maple's coloring, it all seemed beautiful, but it wasn't really like that. He just had to think it was beautiful. All he thought was beautiful was not fear and blood, but her, the one who always blushed. Clen said he loves her very much. He'll get out of the hypnosis and confess everything. Just let them save her. The girl has lost so much blood. He cares for her very much. The operation of cleaning up fallen leaves is complete. You can take a deep breath. Boon Janwook was surprised that the guy managed to convince them to plead guilty. Looks like Kim Kyung-soo is not only good at fighting, but also has intelligence. The guy said he didn't do anything but punch. The man asked what the wound on his face was it inflicted by this head of a pseudo-religion? Baiguan replied that it wasn't him. It was one strong kid. The guy couldn't kill him. Kwang he said she gave the Black Leaf first aid, now it's Clone's turn. Have him remove the hypnosis as he promised. Clen replied that it would be right away. As soon as Maple removed the hypnosis, people began to show their displeasure. The red and yellow leaf, also brought out of hypnosis, they were disgusted to realize that such as he had planted his worm. Black Leaf told them to take back what they said or they will be at a tie. The commander patted them on the head and told them to sit tight. They are full of energy, judging by the way they are emerging. Baiguan didn't like to go on missions with someone before, but this man can be trusted. From now on, it will be safe to go on missions with him. Boon Janwook reported 3 wounded, no fatalities. It's done. Hong Jun replied that it was great, well done. He'll send some men to clean up the place. Orchid reported to the monk that the Maple had lost But what about the Lespedeza and the Hollow Mountain? The man replied that he had not heard from them yet. He also thinks the crane betrayed them. Just what they needed. January Crane sat in his office and thought. He thought the balance was fine, but the scales tipped only one way. Was Boon Jang-wook's squad stronger than he thought? Or is it Kim Kyung-soo? Still, there was a whole 3 months involved in the task, and what's more, there was even a Hollow Mountain. Anyway, it's even better. He'll control the police, but he won't control the Hwaguks, so losing them could be good for them. There's some excitement. Because of what's happened, we'll have to speed up the timeline a bit. He's referring to that case. Have them prepare to leave immediately. The guys have been waiting a long time for reinforcements to arrive. This is Shin So-hee, a senior police officer, assistant commander of the Black Crane Squad. In a previous life, she was a member of Boon Jang-wook's special unit. The commander asked what she was doing here. The girl replied that they had been sent by their superior. Why are they in the backup all of a sudden? Seo-hee said they're not the kind of people who wipe up after others. The girl asked what's up with Cha Young's face. Park Jun said stop pretending like they're friends. I just want to kill her. Seo-hee thinks it should probably be offensive for such a pretty face. Boon Jang-wook asked, is she alone? Where is their commander? The girl replied that he went to another place. He has another assignment. Choi Hoon, senior officer and commander of the Black Crane Squad. Former deputy commander of Boon Jang-wook's special unit. The man said that Major General Hong Jun should come with him. The police chief is looking for him. Boon Jang-wook was puzzled. What other assignment was there? Seo-hee revealed that the police chief told him to bring Chief Hong Jun because he wants to meet with him. The girl asked, does the guy want to leave the cult leader to them? Because he has a boat? Baiguan said they didn't, but they caught them all. Why take credit for something like that? And suggested we all go together. Maple Leaf raised his hand and said they were just as eager to go with them. Seo-hee smiled wryly and asked what were they talking about? Or do they think they can decide that for themselves? I mean, that's a direct order from the chief of police. The guy asked, and then what? The commander said that Sergeant Kim Kyung-soo is wrong. They have to go, they have to follow orders. There's nothing to be done. Boon Jang-wook asked Sergeant Kim Ah-hyun if she was able to find anything. The girl replied that she was following a trail of blood and got into a dense forest, and then the footprints abruptly disappeared and she ended up finding nothing. Wasn't there even a dead body? The commander asked. Hyun replied that she had searched the neighborhood but found nothing. Baiguan found it suspicious that Seo-hee and Lespedeza were acting so strangely. Meanwhile, Lespedeza himself was climbing as hard as he could up a tree without anyone noticing him, and shouted that he would survive. Klen said something was bothering him. If they made a clean confession, would that help? Seo-hee asked, are they more used to hearing different? Pine doesn't need useless changes. He said so himself. They'll have to escape during transportation and then they'll be shot. Maple couldn't believe his ears. He was really just playing by the rules he'd been given. What kind of life had he lived? He hugged the black leaf and said she knew nothing. Let her not kill her. However, the girl said it was okay. She would follow him anywhere. Seo-hee raised her rifle and said that in that case, they could say goodbye to them. Crane was happy to see Chief Hong Jun again. The man praised him for getting through without a single dead body. How does he feel about avenging his spouse? Hong Jun asked why the man had called him in. The boss replied that he called him to give him the next assignment. It has all the month information except February, May and August. Let him use that data and kill them one by one. They will first undermine the Hwaguks clan's forces and then deal with the monk. However, these months are hidden assassins. Even if they manage to kill them, how will he deal with the monk? An operation like this is going to take a huge toll. Kim Naka replied that he had his own plan for the monk, but he couldn't tell him that. The man will give him backup. He teams up with Kim Kyung-soo even though he doesn't listen to him. But there's also Boon Jang-wook's special unit that listens to him. And also there is personally his squad, the Black Crane. It will be easier with them. If they join forces, they can handle all the months. The fight between the Hibiscus Police and the Hwaguksa Temple is Hato. Struggling with colors, those are very famous words, aren't they? Doesn't he think so? Meanwhile, the monk gathered the month and said it was time to begin his service. Crane thinks it's time to join forces. It's going to be an interesting party. The girls were puzzled because they had been gathering a lot lately. Why did so few of them come? June Peony is shocked that for the first time in all the meetings they don't see the brothers. February Bird and Plum Blossoms asked the monarch what was the matter. Why are they gathered together? The monarch replied without thinking for a long time that the task was failed, the maple had lost. The girl asked, didn't the crane, Lespedeza, and Hollow Mountain participate in this task? Orchid replied that the January crane had turned out to be a traitor. March Sakura said it was rather unsurprising, since he had never been seen. February asked, are Lespedeza and Hollow Mountain dead too? Sakura doesn't think so, Lepidisa maybe, but Hollow Mountain couldn't just die. Orchid said that the purpose of this mission was to lure Hongjoon's team into the maple tree's lair, to disperse their forces, and then Crane had to deal with Hongjoon. But at some point, communication with him broke down. According to the Hollow Mountain returnee, the monarch said that the crane did turn out to be a traitor. However, he is actually Police Chief Kim Nak-ho. The girls were shocked by what they heard. The February Bird was especially anxious. However, compared to the rebellion of the first maple, something bigger will happen. Soon the monarch said he would gather them again, but in the meantime, let them be on standby. They will begin their operation. June Peony asked if Lespedeza was still alive. Meanwhile, Lespedeza's brother took him to the hospital. September Chrysanthemum thinks he's a miracle survivor. This guy's as tough as a cockroach. His brother asked who had done this to him. Lespedeza replied that the man carrying the phoenix was very strong. Chrysanthemum said he had too many injuries, it would be difficult for him to walk normally, and we'll probably have to pick a new April. Nobody wants him. My brother got very angry when he heard this and told me not to say anything stupid. The guy said you shouldn't take your anger out on him, it wouldn't do any good. He'll do his best not to worry. And he'll make him look like his old self again. Lespedeza told his brother to calm down, he's still alive. If he tried hard enough, he could handle it. Chrysanthemum told his brother to come out and he would start the operation immediately. July Lespedeza came out of the hospital in a rage and said he would definitely kill him. Hongjoon told the guy that the crane had suggested joining forces. Baiguan asked, are the people from Black Crane strong? The one replied that most of them were from Boom Jangwook's special unit, so it was more like yes than no. That's not bad power. But what's he going to do next, accept the merger? The man replied that he had not yet given his answer. But there is something in it. Whatever choice he makes, this is a chance for them, because there have been internal disagreements. They'll watch them squabble and then seize the moment. So they should pretend they're with the crane. Be that as it may, they are in the same organization. Baiguan stood up and said that he would have to train his guys for now. Hongjoon was surprised, because he had said that it was more convenient to do tasks alone. After finishing the task, Commander Boom Janwook thanked the guy, saying he did a good job. The man doesn't know what kind of assignments he's had in the past, but judging by his tendency to act alone, it seems there have been some not-so-reliable co-workers in the past. Yet now let him try to put a little trust in his team. They're trying their best to please him. I'm sure they'll be useful later. On leaving, Baiguan replied that he had changed his mind a bit about the team. After the mission is over, the leaves are cleaned up. Kim Nak-ho called a press conference and openly announced the brilliant results of the operation. Before reporters, he said that being in his last term in office, he would find and exterminate all the miscreants. Crane sent a warning to Huigux's temple, and also unofficially gathered the people and went to the temple with good tidings. The man was surprised that he wasn't even offered a cup of tea. How badly guests are welcomed here. The monarch didn't think long and decided to strike first. However, the crane left him easily, and asked that he would not calm down in any way. They're both too old to fight. And he offered to settle it with words, no fists. Crane suggested getting right to the point. Let him drop everything and go to work for him. In this case, he can maintain his reputation as a monk. They're connected in many ways and it's better to resolve things amicably. The monarch thinks he is also one of those who will be thrown out when he is no longer needed. How dare a pawn tell his master what to do? Let him not confuse himself with him. Crane said he never hoped the monarch would listen to him. He just wondered how his face would look. How he'd feel after losing 5 months at once. The monarch smiled and replied that they could all be replaced by others at any time. Crane thinks he looks relaxed. Now he wants to see his face when the fight is over. The monarch said that if he had waited a little longer, his dream would have come true, but he made a different choice. Kim Nak-ho said that the man called him a pawn, but he likes being the one who controls those pawns more. He better stock up his pawns, pretty soon he'll officially declare war, and he hopes it will be a good battle. The monarch said he had no doubt about it. Meanwhile, another training session of Kim Kyung-soo's team was underway. In the battle with the Hollow Mountain, he felt that the opponent wasn't showing his true abilities. The one stopped abruptly and offered to try his sword. Baiguan grabbed it and rushed in for a strike, but he was unsuccessful. Hollow Mountain said he sees the same thing in him. He doesn't show his true abilities either, and it looks like the time for their battle hasn't come yet. He was a very unpleasant opponent for him. But things are slowly starting to fall into place. Next time, he won't forgive you for treating him that way. Suddenly, someone said that the guy's movements were like a ghost crying. This July Lespediza, he said his movements are very similar to Baiguan, even goosebumps. The guy asked, does he want to get like his brother, so he came himself? Chrysanthemum looked at his brother's wounds and said that it was very similar to Baiguan's handwriting, like the branches of a willow tree. His brother is alive, but he has a question for him. Who is he really? Is he his disciple or is he? The guy says he is Baiguan. Lespediza's brother wondered what nonsense he was talking about. The one said, let him check for himself then. The pumped-up leg immediately flew into action. He was going to do it anyway. Lespediza wound analysis results from Chrysanthemum. The wounds are very similar to what the second Baiguan inflicted on the first. Who is this Kim Kyung-soo? How is that possible? The monarch asked the Hollow Mountain, what did he think this guy was like? He replied that he was very strong. You can count them on your fingers. The man inquired of Chrysanthemum how was the operation of the Lespediza? He replied that he had done just fine. He'll be fine soon. Monarch said that this good news cannot choose not the place of April another. Chrysanthemum reported to the monarch that it would take about 3 months to rebuild. In the meantime, the brother must somehow convince him to return to his seat. That Hollow Mountain and that pumped-up man, something is wrong with them, thought Baiguan. He's hitting lighter than he did back then, isn't he? Baiguan thinks the guy was relaxed and doesn't think he hasn't practiced since that day. I mean, he should have gotten stronger. Or is he underestimating him? Before coming to him, the brother Lespediza spoke to the Hollow Mountain.
He told him not to kill Baiguan. If he did, he would kill him and his brother.
July Lespediza said he overestimates him. However, Hollow Mountain believes that unlike his brother the guy is capable. Baiguan asked, and what of it? Is he now afraid of the Hollow Mountain? Is that why he started fighting like this? And he was absolutely right, by the way. His brother has no powers. I mean, he's cool for not having any special skills. With just a little effort, he was able to take the spot of the month. The one got angry and said his brother had skills. He was wrong. Striving is also a skill. Baiguan believes that they all strive, and he knows it best. He doesn't have any special abilities either. The brother replied that he had achieved his position only through hard work. Baiguan has fought both of them and knows their abilities. Surely he himself must have sensed when he was on missions with his brother that there was a huge difference between them. That's why the guy came to kill him personally, because his brother can't win even if he wakes up. July Lespediza replied that it was not he or the Hollow Mountain that would kill him, but it was his brother. Baiguan thinks the guy overestimates him too much. Even if everyone says it won't work out, he believes in his brother. After all, he's the only one he has. Baiguan shouted, so why did he come here then? What did he want? The one lifted his foot and said it was to relieve anger. The guys asked if he was okay. He said, don't let them come, they'll only get in the way. When his brother is beaten, he can't stay away. Baiguan asked, and that he would just take out his anger on him and leave. He replied that he would. It's pretty boring though, he'll regret it. It's the only chance to kill him. When the guy gets back to his old form, then it will become impossible, but he thinks his brother can do it anyway. Then what should we do? Baiguan shouted that he wouldn't let him go from here alive and moved to attack. However, July Lespediza doesn't see it that way. Don't let him fool himself. He's the one who let him live. Now Baiguan realized that men were bound to have strong legs. Meanwhile, the monarch ordered the orchids to bring in the boys. New months must be chosen. Baiguan tried to throw his opponent to the ground. But it looked like he was like stone. This kid's really good at something. But does he have anything else besides powerful legs? It's really not bad. Also, nothing beats a real fight. Baiguan feels like his feelings are coming back to him. July Lespediza shouted enough of this nonsense and decided to strike next. Despite such words, the Lespediza himself felt his movements getting better. Baiguan said that it was very good. There was nothing better for skill enhancement than fighting a strong opponent. But the sad thing is, he's not going to show all of his abilities. In that case, risks dying a miserable death. Traffic has gotten so much better in such an unthinkably short time, so it's starting to be compared. Unlike his brother, he has more upper body training. Does he have to kill him right here and now? His brother survived and promised him he would return this battle of his. He said enough is enough and stopped the fight. He had to go. Baiguan replied that no one let him go. They must fight to the end, but the guy made it clear he didn't want to. And he turned on his fifth gear, and in the end, Baiguan couldn't catch up with him. For a man, it's what's underneath that counts. He almost hesitated. The guy doesn't have the right to be called Big Brother. Can the brother do it? Probably someone like him for sure. At the same time, Hong Jun was shocked by what he saw in the documentation. These are the documents Kim Nak-ho gave him. They contained information about March, June, and September. March Sakura is a popular singer and songwriter named Sai-wa. June Peony is a zoo employee, Haya Ranwa, and September Chrysanthemum. Dr. Young Baekwa. All these people are in high places. What's this asshole up to? Monarch at this time welcomed the boys and said they would be the new cards from now on. The second Crane, the third Baiguan, and the third Phoenix. He hopes there will be help from them, and Kim Kyung-soo's comrades caught up with him and asked him, "Is he really who he says he is?" The guy asked, "Why would they be so interested? It's not that hot outside." Joe Kwang he said that he himself had just told the big guy himself that he was that Baiguan. He also acted like he'd known him for a long time. After he woke up in the hospital, it was like he'd been replaced. The guy replied that it would be better to practice instead of these questions. Let him take an example from Lee Sung-hyun and Hwang Hee-jun who just keep quiet. The guy said they also doubted if he was definitely the real Kyung-soo. Hong Jun was informed that the maple tree had died. Baiguan asked how he felt. He had killed his wife after all. The man replied that naturally the mood wasn't the best. The criminal begat the victim, and the victim became the criminal himself. In the end, the maple tree was one of the victims. They're gonna make this asshole answer to the law. This chain of tragedies must be stopped. He was told he had voluntarily surrendered. This miserable death. Crane cut off all chance of paying what he deserved. Hong Jun provided the information about the months that Crane had given him. This is what they actually look like. They're basically all the most active. The general asked, besides the twins, did he meet February and May? Baiguan replied that he had not met February but had seen May many times. He is always by the monk's side, as if he were his shadow, and the lad has often seen him in the temple. And in other news, they've decided to go with the Crane for now. Baiguan said he doesn't like it. Hong Jun thinks it's okay. He's a police officer too. They are going to work together as co-workers, but nothing more. The man asked if there was any other news besides the meeting with the Lespedeza. The guys asked who he really was. Hong Jun asked, "Just now?" They're so inconsiderate. Let her just tell them the truth. They won't believe it anyway. But then why tell them? Whether they believe it or not is not that important, but they would love it if he told them. That's the human connection, so might as well not think and take the risk. After his words, Baiguan told his comrades about himself and Hwaguksa. When they heard his story, they naturally didn't believe it and started laughing. Kwang he thinks the guy must have hit his head hard that day. Should we check again at the hospital? Still, even though it's bullshit, the guys are glad he told him. If he's worried about anything, let him come forward anytime. Baiguan said he doubted their abilities. Let them think what they want. Suddenly, their conversation was disturbed by Boon Jang-wook's team. Henceforth, they will train with them until they are given a task like in reality. Park Joon-ho vs. Lee Sung-hyun. Joon-ho thinks the guy looks dumb. Choi Sang-ho vs. Hwang Hee-jun. He didn't feel like practicing with such an old man. Cha Young and Kim Ah-hyun vs. Jo Kyung-hee. She didn't understand why too. The guy replied that she was the lamest. Kim Kyung-soo vs. Boon Jang-wook. The guy hopes they'll get along. In the last fight, he realized that practice was very important, so he needed to take action. Baiguan will attack trying not to aim for the eye, and for the rest of us, there's no indulgence. We need to build up our spirits. At that time, the secretary said that Hong Jun sent a message that he was willing to cooperate. Crane said it was good news. Let him betray that they would see him soon. The girl asked him if he wanted to tell the plan related to the monk. The man replied that it was not necessary to tell. Hong Jun is pretty limited and will probably back off when this assignment is over. If it's going to happen anyway, wouldn't it be better for him to control those changes? And also after this assignment, whoever wants to touch him will be gone. It'll be less of a hassle. He's been so tired of scumbags lately, at this time in Congress. The man asked, did she really think so? Hong Young congresswoman said that's exactly what the article says. Police officer Kim Nak-ho is raising thugs out of police officers. The next day in the commander's office, Kim Nak-ho thanked Hong Jun for agreeing to cooperate. The man asked what his plans were. What will be the starting point? The commander said that there was no need to hurry, we should get to know each other better. He said he didn't feel like it. All people have a dream, so what is his dream? Hong Jun asked, can't he hear it all? Kim Nak-ho's dream is to become president of this country.